took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went to the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. We be Manasseh, the Cubans, East from Puerto Rico, and Valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Babylon from Panama, yeah, the North American Indians, Libya, the Dominican. The highest gathering in Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us, together our wives and children sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. A high gathering in Colombia, moving from Australia. It's across the Mexicans. A high gathering in the Negroes, living in the West Indies, Levi, the Haitians. A high gathering in Israel. Moving from Australia, it's across the Mexicans.
That's who we be, we be.
The Negroes, living in the West Indies, Levi, the Haitians.
Oh,
Manasseh, the Cubans.
Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Ooh. Ooh.
Our highest gathering Israel.
Our highest gathering Israel. This is Elder Ricard Shiara along with Elder Lawyer. And of course, we have our search engine original, who's now an elder of the church, Brother Gadjas, in the house. How you doing, Elder Gadja?
Hey, shalom, shalom. I'm doing well.
Okay, that's
How you doing over there?
I'm blessed by the Most High, ready to dig in, ready to go in. You know what day we got coming up? What day is coming up on the horizon here? A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, ain't it? Hey, hey, brothers and sisters, do we have a broadcast today? I'll bring you in 1 second, Elder Gadja. And we will.
Mute here.
Okay, great. And of course, I would like to hear y'all perspectives this evening. And hey, you see, I'm getting nice and ready right now. You know, oh yeah. 515-605-9327. 515-605-9327. You all know the routine so that we can drive the traffic to this particular page. Please hit the like button. That way this particular video will begin to trend and YouTube's algorithm will let others know we're live. That's the only reason most that broadcast ask you to hit the button, okay? Because through the new censorship, how it is now, only mainstream media's pages that have a certain level of subscribers automatically get preferred as live tag coming into YouTube. So they don't have to, you don't have to hit the YouTube button for mainstream things. The like button for mainstream live events. Their algorithm automatically trends them to be preferred over real YouTubers. So that's the only reason you hear people. It's not that people are asking for likes, you know what I mean, to feed their ego or something. It's if you hit that particular button, what that does, it now lets others know that you are alive. Okay, the people drives the YouTubers opposed to the industry, the mainstream that automatically, if it's a news program, CNN, they don't care. Automatically, they're preferred once YouTube pops up. If it's a football game or if it's something like that and they're live, automatically ESPN pops up. Okay, that's the only reason people ask you to hit the like button, because YouTube have censored and put YouTubers in a compartment somewhere that you must find on purpose. And that's the only reason, all right? And it's deep because before they begin to censor us, all right, before they took down our page for absolutely nothing at all and gave us a strike for absolutely nothing at all, this broadcast was averaging on average, just by chance, by mistake, 2,000 viewers on any respective broadcast. We would trend up to 2,000 regularly in one broadcast, be it the Sabbath or the radio show. But now, as you can see, right now it's 3:59. By now, in 10, 15 minutes, we would have been up to 700. So the algorithms are actually working exactly how they have planned them to work. But the Most High Word will get out nonetheless. So as you come in, please hit the like button so that others will know we're here. And also make sure you hit the bell and subscribe to our page, okay? They're unsubscribing people on purpose. They don't want you to be in the know of what's happening according to the word and what's really going on outside of mainstream media, okay? So make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell to be alerted when our church is actually broadcasting, when the elders are broadcasting. Jumping right in, if you would like to get into this broadcast, 515-605-9327. Okay, I'm excited right now about the new academy we have coming up Sunday, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
And when I seen the production of that particular video, the same brothers that were behind the music video after the fire's gone, did a advert for our academy. And for those who haven't seen it yet, let me drop it for you real quick. 1 second. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. Hey, hey, hey. And it sure makes me want to join, I tell you that.
Yes, sir.
All praises be to the Most High. I mean, you wouldn't believe what we'll be going into. Hold on. You wouldn't believe what we'll be going into this academy, folks. I mean, hold up now. I need to drop it one more time. Hey, Gaja, you seen it yet?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to drop that thing one more time, young man. the Bible? Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding and hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you the Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited. Okay, guys, I know you've seen that, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Big man. Big
man, all praise.
professional.
Go ahead.
Now I'm saying it's professional. It's well put together. It's exciting. It's it's like for a big premiere. You with me?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, man.
All praises be to the Most High. And I'll tell you, you can join the Academy. Be here with us December 22nd. Okay. We'll be going into the creation of the universe. Okay. And we're going to be we will be focusing on the celestial realm, heaven, how all things were created, the ranking of angels, how they came to be. And some people out there ask, well, are there female angels? Some out there ask, is the Holy Spirit feminine? Was that the original family, the Most High masculine, the Holy Spirit feminine? And if that's the case, who changed the Holy Spirit into masculine, as if all things came to be male? Hey, that's going to blow your mind when you really figure this out. I'll tell you, when you see what we have in store for you. Also, we will be going into this academy once breaking down the split of Israel. Well, there's a lot of questions out there, right? On, does it matter if we know that we're the children of Israel? Right? Does it matter, right? Because it's out there, right? Okay, you know you're the Hebrews, so what? Okay, what does it matter according to the word? That will be broken down. And there's some questions out there because you have some people out there teaching that, yes, the Israelites have been found through the slave ships, but they're primarily Negroid. And the other tribes, like the 10 tribes that were in the Americas right now, are not really the 12 tribes of Israel. You have some people are claiming that the 12 tribes chart came from Oriah and that that's false. Is that true? You're going to find out in this academy. We're going to break down the 12 lost tribes found like never before, showing circumstantial, irrefutable proof, okay, of the 10 tribes, like the Balikwa Taino Indian, like those in the Dominican, like those in Haiti, like those here that was in the Americas, and the Isles around America, in the Atlantic and all that, even Mexicans. We're going to go into the proof that there were Hebrew, and not only just Hebrew, that there was actual archaeological proof that they came from what? You got it. The Phoenician area during the time of our fall in 721 BC when the kingdom was split, that they brought proof, archaeological proof for that time period over into the New World. And this is the most shocking thing of all, brothers and sisters. Check this out. That there were pastors, European pastors, coming over to the Americas, reporting back to Europe that they found the 10 tribes that were scattered in 721 BC. More proof, check this out, that in Christopher Columbus's own diaries, that he used the proof of the Bible to come to find the new land, showing that the 10 tribes would be in a new land where no mankind ever dwelt. He used the biblical proof to get financed by Queen Elizabeth to find the new land, or the Hebrews who were over here in the new land. So all of that history and more will be delved into within the 3 months of our Hebrew and Bible Academy, starting December 22nd. So if you would like to join and be a part of it, if you haven't done so already, you can send an email to gatheringasone, that's the number 1, at AOL.com. That's gatheringasone, the number 1, at AOL.com. You can also go to historytimes.org and enroll right there. Or go to gatheringofchrist.org, okay? Gatheringofchrist.org, and hit on the tab that says Academy. Boom, you'll be right in. It's real quick to enroll. If you have a card or you're used to paying online, we've made it easy. So if you go to historytimes.org, jump right in, okay? If you have PayPal, other forms, and guess what? It's very cheap, okay? It's very cheap to be a part of this, okay? So be sure to be a part of this. You don't want to miss the information that we bring out in a class setting. It's one thing like these broadcasts in which we do overviews and bring out a lot of information, even on the Sabbath classes, a lot of information. But I'll tell you this, in a class setting, allow us to really relax and bring forth the research. Now,
That's right.
jumping right in, because I know you all are waiting for this broadcast. 515-605-9327. We up at 600 right now. That's okay. Jumping right in. Check this out. And I haven't spoken to you at all about what I'm talking about this evening. Did you check in to see it yourself?
I checked the blog.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
So you know, but I haven't said anything to Elder Gaja or no one else. Our broadcast today, you can't wait and see what we have here. I mean, I'm excited and anxious to give it to you. Do Christian pastors today know the truth of Christmas or about Christmas? Do Christian pastors know the history of Christmas? Now, why did I title it like this with a question mark? Well, because at this point, I'm really convinced. I'm convinced at this point that some of the pastors just don't know, that they just believe what was taught to them or through tradition or being raised in a traditional Christian church. And I think to some degree, they feel that they're not appreciated to some degree, and that the philanthropy and the other righteous things they do in the community are overlooked. All right. So I'm going to come from that standpoint right now, that when we bring this out, it's not to downplay or disrespect or not appreciate what pastors in our communities actually do and contribute to the brothers and sisters who are suffering in a community. Okay. Some of them have been taught the same way we have been taught, okay, growing up in mainstream religion. And because of this, what we like to do sometimes is make sure we put the information out there so that pastors and preachers and all that who would like to study beyond their theologian studies will have the extra information that probably is sitting right there in their library. Okay, the information is probably right there in their Christian library, but they don't have no idea that it's in there. So I thought we would pull out some of this information with some of the books that I'll be using in the Hebrew and Bible Academy this coming quarter, starting December 22nd. Now, jumping right in. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? Year after year, we're told by Christian leaders in the Western world that Christmas is a celebration of the Son of God. we're told that every year, right? Let me see, it's right here, celebration. Right, yeah, it's okay. Year after year, we're told by Christian leaders in the Western world that Christmas is a celebration of the Son of God, okay? And that all Christians should honor this day in respect of Jesus in his memory, right? But is there something pastors have left out or are leaving out? Okay, because there are some pastors who didn't do the research on Christmas, but there's others who have that information, who know church history concerning how Christmas became the birthday of Jesus or Christ. Now, here's another question. Is there a connection between our Savior, who we baptize in the name of, who we teach the mission towards the kingdom of heaven in his name? Is there a connection between our Savior and Christmas Day? Now, that's a deep question. Well, this may shock you today, brothers and sisters, and I really would like to hear your opinions on this particular topic, especially for this time of year. This may shock you. We have today a manual, right? One moment. Let me put here. We have today a manual of church history. Now, not just any manual. This is a well-renowned, respected manual that's within the majority of theologians and Christian pastors' libraries throughout all of the earth. And this is a respected historical reference by all Christian authority. It's called A Manual of Church History by A.H. Newman. And guess what? It's from the 1800s. I have it right here. I got me one of the original reprints of this. As you can see, it's an old book, right? It's going to shock you what's in it. Well, this may shock you. I have both volumes, 1 and 2. I didn't get the revised version. You know, we don't roll like that. If we're going to bring out some proof, some history, we're going to spin the coin that it takes to get the original book, because through Kindle and the internet, right now before us, there's what we would call a cyber book burning going on, where they're trying to make it where you don't have these original books in your possession, but I'm grabbing all I can. Well, this may shock you that in a manual of church history upheld by theologians and learned pastors throughout the earth, it's explained in full detail how this respected winter celebration, Christmas, became Christ's birthday under the new Christian authority. And the Gathering of Christ Church has that proof right here before you all today. Last but not least, here's a good question. Once we bring this out, you can answer this yourself after the information is brought out to you. Is Christmas of God? Is it a celebration given to us by the God who've made us all? And if so, if we agree that it is of God, then the next question comes, which God?
Right.
Which God, right? That's right. We're going in. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? 515-605-9327. Come on. I need you all to hit that like button. Come on in. We're up to how many here? We're up to 764. That's enough right now, right? And I'm going to pull up this reference probably 2 or 3 times during this whole broadcast. This is going to be a quick hitter quitter today. We're going to jump in. I have everything. I came in a few hours early to make sure the outline was made, the computer was set up, the camera was set up with no problem. And it's deep in itself, right? Now, let me ask you, Elder Lawyer, just off the cuff. That's why I said I wanted to let them know that I haven't spoken to you about this.
Yes, sir.
Are Christian pastors, this is the truth, I need you to just be honest, are they responsible for telling the members of their church the history of Christmas? Is a pastor today responsible, right?
Right.
Is he responsible for saying, if he know this information, is he responsible to at least relay it to his congregation? And if so, why?
Well, first and foremost, I think the answer, just to get straight to the point, I believe the answer is yes. I believe that any shepherd that's placed in a position over God's flock, when it comes to information, either relating to the Word of God, or if there's information of things that we've been celebrating that have been masqueraded as being a part of God's Word or something in association with God, but we come to find out that it's the total opposite. It's not of God. It can't be validated by the Bible. Then I believe that information has to be shared with the congregation as well. Now, what the congregation decides to do with that information, that's their business. But at least as a shepherd, as Ezekiel said, if you warn them, the blood is not on you.
Okay.
They now have a responsibility to make the proper decision based on the information.
Okay. Out of nowhere, of course, the second question I'm going to ask the Elder Gadja. Are you with me, Elder Gadja?
Khan, I'm here.
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear. This is wonderful. The second question I will pose to you, Elder Gadja. Now, tell the audience right now, the listening audience, the viewing audience, have I spoken to you or prepped you at all for this particular broadcast?
Not at all.
Well, check it out. No, go ahead. I'm listening.
And I tell you what's deep, Elder, right? What's deep is that tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a TV interview, sat down with a rabbi and a Christian pastor on this topic. Should we be celebrating Christmas? So it's deep that you're going into this right now, and I haven't spoken to you.
And this is the first Elder Gadja have told me about this interview. And I know that's going to be big.
Right.
Make sure you have your independent video recording this discourse so that we can put it up on the main page, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Second question for you, Elder Gadja. The first I had for Elder Lawyer. The second I have for you, because I was asking him, is it the responsibility of a pastor, even if he agree or disagree with the answer, to give the true history of how Christmas came to be Christ's birthday to those in his church? And Elder Lawyer answered that. The second question I have for you, right? If a pastor does not tell his congregation the truth that's within the books, within his own library, how should we, as members of his church, hold him accountable?
Well, I think we had a discussion earlier a few weeks ago with Sister Shirley, when she actually did a similar thing. She found out the truth, and respectfully, she went to her pastor, as a family member, and brought it to him. And I think that's the approach that we should take. Meaning, if I find out something within my church that my pastor don't know, and I have the information, I'm gonna bring it to him. The Bible says in Galatians 6, if a man is overtaken with a fault, you which are spiritual must restore one in the spirit of meekness, and consider yourself that you also might be taken. So, me understanding that and understand also that knowledge puffeth up, I'd be very humble with it and go and bring it to him. And if he isn't gonna change, then I will respectfully remove myself from that church.
Man, this is deep in itself. You'll remove yourself. So in holding them accountable is first looking to introduce the information to him, like Sister Shirley said a few weeks, in this spirit of meekness. And if he deny you, hey, do me a favor, guys, you just put that on mute real quick if you don't mind. And then if he deny the information being brought, then you have no choice. You can hold him accountable by walking away from that congregation altogether. That's one way of holding him accountable. If you have ways in which outside of just walking away, we can hold these pastors accountable if they're not willing to reveal the whole truth in Christ, I need you all to give us some of your opinion on how you would handle it without totally just cutting the brother off or really, I would say, coming down hard to a degree in which you'll squander any future opportunity of getting to that particular brother or sister, because we have to also be mindful of who we're dealing with. Just because they're pastors doesn't mean that they have actually learned through the theologian, have the high level of understanding. Sometimes they get anointed, by someone or some higher authority within their group, their fraternity, without really understanding church history, right? So but go ahead, Elder Gaja.
And just off of that as well, Elder, right? It's like what brothers and sisters, putting out there, we should understand is that once you start to learn the Bible in its proper context, right? Yeah. And learning it from the way, Israelites teach it, the way the Gathering of Christ Church teaches the Bible. You are on another level. You understand? Easily. After 6 months of studying properly, you come into the Hebrew Bible Academy, and you're studying with the church. After 6 months, you're in another league by yourself. Yeah. So you have to understand that as well and be mindful that, because it's like going back to myself, Elder, right? Yeah. When I got the truth, almost 10 years ago, I went to my Christian family on Christmas, this time of the year, guns blazing. And a lot of them still won't talk to me even to this day. So if I had the wisdom that I have now, right, my approach would have been totally different. I would have never gone to them like that.
Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High.
So it's understanding that, listen, the knowledge that you have, it's not common to everyone out there.
Yeah, it cuts, man. Yeah,
it cuts, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can deal with some people and you can end up losing them.
Exactly.
Just based off pride. You with me?
Exactly. Yeah, so then you have to ask, what is your true objective in going to a person? Okay, a pastor or member of his church. Is it to heal and to bring the brother into the fold or sister into the fold in the spirit of Christ? Or is it to cut that person and leave that person out with no direction? Because keep in mind, once you drop the word on them, to some degree, there's a responsibility there. Because suppose you shake their faith to the degree in which they leave the church that was holding them, that was keeping them from sin to some degree. Suppose they become unbelievers altogether and fall into Satan's hands. You have to realize that all of that we're responsible for when delivering the word. So I'm glad you brought that out, because today I'm going to take a different approach. Okay. As we come closer to the end, brothers and sisters, we have to really learn how to use this word to benefit Christ's ministry and to lead our people into the kingdom. It's more so from that perspective that we should teach, opposed to showing that we know more than others, or teaching this word in a prideful sense. So I'm going to take a different approach. Instead of me saying this, that, and the other, this is what I think about it, this is my opinion, I'm going to go into their records, their respected references, to give you the detailed information that most pastors should already know studying in a theologian school concerning these times, this time of year, December 25th. On your screen. On your screen. I need you all to look at that real quick. And, right? On your screen, and I made this, I did a snapshot from my cell phone, rendered the picture so that you can all see exactly what I'm reading in the same book. So any pastor, preacher, or those who believe in Christ, who have celebrated Christmas and don't know what it's about, keep in mind, this didn't come from Elder Ricard Shiar. Okay, this didn't come from the Gathering of Christ Church. You're being told by the church authority, a church history, a manual that's in most preachers' or pastors' library right now. It's on page 299, and I need you, Elder Lawyer, to read starting with the multiplication of ecclesiastical festivals in section 8 on this particular page. And I need you to read all these points to the end of this particular page.
Yes, sir. Multiplication of ecclesiastical festivals. At the beginning, the Lord's Day and the Jewish Sabbath were, so far as we know, the only days to which Christians attached any particular sanctity.
The Lord's Day, which they call Sunday, and what?
The Jewish Sabbath were, so far as we know, the only days to which Christians attached any particular sanctity.
Come on.
Easter may in some sense have been observed in the apostolic age, i.e., the Jewish Passover.
So Easter, according to the Christian reference here, the theologian reference, they know that Easter was celebrated not as Easter, but it was Passover according to the Bible. That's when you go into books Acts 12 and 4, where the word Easter is there. When you look into the Greek, it's the word Passover. So most Christian pastors know that the original apostles, the original ministry under Christ, never followed a day called Easter. Now, the pagans were following the goddess Ashtar of ancient Babylon. That was a pagan belief. Easter comes from Ashtar. But go on.
Easter may in some sense have been observed in the apostolic age. The Jewish Passover continued for a time to be observed by Jewish Christians. The chief thought in their minds probably the death and resurrection of Christ. Gradually, this came to be the only thought.
Gradually, an independent thought outside of the true ministry became a law within the Christian church. They turned a thought into a holy day. An idea, an ancient pagan idea that predated Christ, into a new holy day under the Christian church. Read.
We have seen how from the time of Polycarp, controversy raged with regard to the exact time of its celebration.
So Polycarp was the resistance against heresy who wanted to bring in Sunday worship, Easter, and pagan days, opposed to following the original mission and ministry of Christ and the disciples. Come on.
You want me to read read this small print.
Oh, yeah, read the small print.
Yes, sir. The fact that vernal festivals were general among pagan peoples.
Now, listen, it says it here in the book. It's right there in the middle. Read it again.
The fact that vernal festivals were general among pagan peoples.
It says, read that again.
The fact that vernal festivals were general among pagan peoples.
Was general among pagan peoples. So only pagans followed these days that are celebrated in America and in the Western world under Christendom today. Before Christ and the disciples, even during their time, pagans were following these days. Now, this is not me. This is in church history. Pastors know this. Okay? It's upon the well-studied theologians to understand where Christmas came from and teach Christmas with that knowledge. Okay? They'll teach Christmas with this particular knowledge. Now, what I have to give respect to the Christian Theologian Authority for at least giving the pastors the information. Now, it's upon the pastors to say whether or not they're going to follow what Christ established before the pagans came in and interjected their days, or stay with the pagan traditions. But at least the church history gave them an opportunity to make a choice. See? So now they're without excuse, pastors. Read.
The fact that vernal festivals were general among pagan peoples no doubt had much to do with the form assumed by the Easter festival in the Christian churches.
Come on.
The term Easter is of pagan origin.
It says that the term Easter is of pagan origin. Now, I'm not calling them pagans. The Theologian Christian Authority is letting you know that it's pagan. It's in their record of church history. Why? And I'm going to have to bring this out because you have those who are ignorant to the Bible is relating these practices like you see these celebrations of Sunday worship, the celebration of Christmas, the celebration of Easter. They believe the pastors got these celebrations from the Bible itself and are rejecting the Bible because of it. See? So we have to set the record straight. Listen, Christ is like saying, listen, my path is narrow. You have the choice. You have to decide whether or not you are going to walk on that path. It's fire on one side, water on the other. So Christ is not going to stop you from making the choice and choosing paganism, whatever the case. You know better. So it's up to you now. And I'm going to go back to these questions in a moment, but go on.
Yes, sir. So also the Feast of Pentecost was connected with the Jewish feast.
It says even the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit came down in Acts, the 2nd chapter, where the gospel will be preached throughout all nations, because why? All Jews from devout nations who came to celebrate the Passover received the testimony from Peter at that particular event, which was a high holy day called First Fruits. Now, when pastors go into Pentecost, they go into a new tradition called speaking in tongues, which had nothing to do for the reason. It had what they're doing in the church now had nothing to do with, no relation to what happened in Acts, the 2nd chapter. The understanding of tongues was Peter speaking and delivering the ministry and testimony of Christ's walk to all those who spoke different languages, and they were able to hear the ministry of Christ in their language. That's all it was. Read on.
So also the Feast of Pentecost was connected with the Jewish feast. The Jewish element soon dropping out of consideration.
It says the Jewish element, or you got it, the Israelite element, eventually dropped out of what?
Consideration.
Consideration. That means they no longer considered the original holy days that were established and upheld by Christ and the disciples. They no longer had respect of the Bible's holy days. They dropped that right off. How can you uphold a book or a Bible and say a Bible with holy days contained in it and say, well, we don't have to follow those, but yet follow days that the Bible doesn't give authority to or doesn't respect? You can't find none of these holidays that's being followed right now, Christmas or otherwise. You can't find, the Bible backs none of them. But yet the Bible has holy days. A matter of fact, a holy day Christ was given up during the time near the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the Passover. Even Christ's death is related or in relation to the holy days contained in the same book.
That's right.
But instead of us honoring that, we're honoring December 25th, a day of his birth. But guess what? The church history book covers that also. Read on.
It says, the Jewish element soon dropping out of consideration and the outpouring of the Holy Spirit coming to be exclusively thought of. The Feast of Epiphany probably originated...
Exactly. So they started just dealing with the Holy Spirit portion in Acts, the 2nd chapter, speaking in tongues on the day of Pentecost and naming themselves the Pentecostal church, instead of them focusing on that the fact that the only reason the disciples were together there is because the Bible called for, the Old Testament called for, a holy convocation on that day. A holy day, according to the Old Testament Bible, was the only reason the disciples were together on the day of Pentecost.
Exactly.
See that?
And it's deep because the scripture that's often quoted in relation to why we don't have to celebrate these old holy days is they are a shadow of things to come.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, I believe that scripture actually gives us the reason to celebrate these holidays because Easter is not the shadow of things to come.
Exactly.
Passover is.
Exactly.
Christmas is not the shadow of things to come. Unleavened bread and so on and so forth.
Exactly. So you'll tell me that the days do stand because they are shadow of things to come. Okay, well, shouldn't I now, being a follower of Christ in the Bible, rehearse the righteous acts? If it's a shadow of things to come, I should understand what that is and begin to follow those days.
Exactly.
So I understand why I need to celebrate the Sabbath or follow the Sabbath as a holy convocation. Or Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Tabernacles, because it's a shadow of things to come. So where do Easter and Christmas come in at? Are they a shadow of things to come? What are they? Maybe the church history can bring some understanding or highlight
Absolutely.
what it is.
Absolutely.
Finish reading, Elder Lawyer. We're on page 299.
Yes, sir. The Feast of Epiphany probably originated in the 2nd century and was designed as a commemoration of the baptism of Christ when he was manifested to the world as the Son of God. It was celebrated on January 6th.
So now the Christian church began at first to celebrate Christ's birthday on January what?
January 6th.
So in church history, Christ's birthday was January 6th at first. Go on.
The baptism.
I mean, the baptism. Yeah. They began to celebrate. Thank you, Other Lawyer. They celebrated the baptism January the 6th originally. Now, mind you, when you go into church history, that January the 6th was all a part of the beginning near the ending of Saturnalia. From December into the Roman Saturnalia. Go on.
Yes, sir. It was celebrated on January 6th. At a very early date, the idea of the nativity...
The nativity was the Virgin Mother, according to paganism, bringing forth the virgin child. Read.
At a very early date, the idea of the nativity was added to that of baptism.
So they added it. So it wasn't Christ's birthday at first. It was, they first had January 6th as a celebration of the baptism of Christ, showing the new way as, and the Christian church, early church, was celebrating January 6th to honor the baptism. And later they switched that in Christian church, Christian authority under the Roman Catholics. They switched it from that to the nativity of what?
It says the idea of the nativity was added to that of the baptism, both being commemorated on this day.
Both being commemorated on January 6th. So they started with the baptism, then through time they added the birth of Christ, and both being celebrated January 6th at first. Now this is church history, folks. Go on.
It was not until the middle of the 4th century
It wasn't until the middle of the 4th century
that the birthday and the baptismal date were separated, the former being placed on December 25th.
Hold up, the former, which is the nativity, Christ's birth now in the 4th century, 400 years after Christ and the disciples. Read.
Being placed on December 25th, the date of the Roman Brumalia.
The date of what?
The Roman Brumalia.
So not only did they didn't just choose a day. They chose a day that was already celebrated, okay, by the Romans on the exact pagan day of Brumalia. So they chose a day that the pagans were already worshiping and named that, entitled that, Christ's birthday. Now, even before this, years before Christ was born, this was the same birth date of Mithras, December 25th. And they say the night before is what? Christmas Eve or Mother's Eve. So really, in actuality, they went back into paganism. They went back into what Christ, Paul, the disciples were actually converting the Gentiles out of. They went back into ancient worships and began to deal with the Queen Mother of Heaven, Semiramis, spring solstice of her being impregnated by a god or a spirit, bringing forth a child without a father. And then 9 months later, the Yule child is born out of the fire. That's right, out of the fire. Your fireplace, out of the fire. Mother's Eve, bringing forth the Yule child. Check this out. Finish reading.
It says, being placed on December 25th, the date of the Roman Brumalia at the close of Saturnalia.
At the close of Saturnalia. Now, folks, this is coming out of a Christian authoritative book. This is church history that's respected by high theologians throughout the earth, especially in the Western world. Read on.
December 17th to December 24th.
December 17th to December 24th was the ancient Saturnalia. So they strategically, right up under us, moved the pagan days and replaced Christ and the disciples' teachings on what days to follow with the ancient pagans according to church history. Read on.
So at the close of Saturnalia and of the Scandinavian Yule.
And of the Scandinavian Yule, read.
This date follows immediately the winter solstice, and there was a thought to be a peculiar appropriateness in identifying the birthday of the Son of Righteousness with that of the physical sun.
With that of the what?
With that of the physical sun.
Now it says right here, this date follows immediately the winter solstice, in identifying the birthday of the Son of Righteousness. But when you look at this, it's not S-O-N. It's what? It's S-U-N. The Son. It's S-U-N. When you read it on that book I have there. It's not worshiping the S-O-N of righteousness, not the Son of God, but the Son that comes up, that gives us light. It's the worship of the Son, because the ancient Babylonians and pagans and witches and warlocks today worship the S-U-N. So they're outright telling us that they're worshiping the sun on Sunday. Huh? Read that again.
It says here, there was a thought to be a peculiar appropriateness in identifying the birthday of the Son of Righteousness.
Not Christ. It says S-U-N, not S-O-N. So you're celebrating what? A new Christ. Not S-O-N. That's why you celebrating on Sunday and not the Sabbath according to the Bible's command. Come on.
With that of the physical sun.
With that of the physical sun. So hold up real quick. Hold up real quick. Now, I kept that long enough where you all can see it there. I'm going to take that off for a second. As you can see, I'm going to leave them all up right there. There goes 1. And there's 2. Right? See that? And I'm going to bring this out in one moment. Why do I have all of these here, brothers and sisters? It's deep in itself. The Christian Authority is telling us outright that Christians everywhere are worshiping the Son knowingly. Not Christ, but the S-U-N. And even Paul says, if anyone come teaching another Christ, let them be accursed. It's to the degree in which they're not even hiding their true intentions. On page 301, now, of course, we're going to be going into this all in the academy on the breakdown of church history within Christianity. Man, we're just scratching the surface, folks. We're just scratching the surface. I need you to read this right here on page 301 when it came to conflicts amongst Christians because they began to change things, right? Instead of following the Bible as it is written, the literal Bible, they were more so looking to uphold paganism, but they couldn't do that flawlessly as the Bible as its key point of authority, because the Bible was speaking or teaching against their philosophies and their paganism. So that began conflicts and heresy amongst the church. The Romans could not unite the new Christians like they were once united while being pagans. So they all came. So the Christian authorities came with an agreement, okay? If we teach the Bible as it is written, you can have some people following this part of the Bible, some people going to be following that part of the Bible. We'll never unite the whole earth under a one world or universal, that's what Catholic means, religion under worshiping the Son, S-U-N. See, and that's why the Pope, when he come out on Sundays, he's holding a staff showing a golden sun. Not S-O-N, but S-U-N. So the Christian authority know they're not worshiping Christ. They know these celebrations are not in respect of Jesus or whom they think is Jesus. Okay, or whom they call Jesus or Jesus. That's who they're really worshiping. Jesus. When you go to page 301, and Gaja, you know I'm going to send you all these pages so you can print them out for this discussion tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
I know you're going to ask, so don't worry about it.
You know, man, I was actually trying to download, order the book real quick off Amazon, hoping that I could get it, but probably won't get it in time. I'll see if I can just get the excerpts that you have and print them off.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know a place where you can at least go to an archive and read the pages and print the pages out. All right.
Yeah, send me all that info,
I'm going to send you that tonight. No problem. But it was only 2 books like this. The other books were revised. I paid the extra, a hand and a foot to get these volumes. And guess what? All throughout these volumes, they're telling on themselves. It's to a degree where Christian pastors today are without excuse. Because why? The authority told you right out, they're not celebrating Christ, the Bible, or the God of the Bible. That's what's deep about this. They're telling you,
reminds me of,
yeah. But go on, Gotcha, go on.
It reminds me of that the Kabbalah magic where they put it right in front of your face, so you have no excuse. It was there.
Yeah.
You know, it's in your face, like, and it goes to show the pastors them that who are studying, who actually read the books, are the ones that read the books. So, you know, both of them, you know, it's accountable, because one, you should read it, and if you have read it and seen this and not said anything, then, you know, there's still a problem. So, I mean, either way you take it, there's, you know, how comes that you haven't said anything to the congregation? And if you have been into the seminary colleges and you have this information, then you know, blood is on your hands.
Yeah. I mean, this is a resounding, let me tell you right now, this really highlights when Christ said, many shall say, Lord, Lord, did not cast out demons in your name, did not do this in your name. And Christ respond back with, get away from me, you workers of iniquity, for I never knew you. It's like, yo, you don't know me. Okay? When you were teaching your congregation to worship the Son outright, which was really Nimrod and Semiramis, the son of Semiramis, it was them giving you the power to do what you were doing. I don't know you. I died on the Passover. I have nothing to do with December 25th. I have nothing to do with Sunday worship. I came to do the will of my Father. And my Father gave Moses the law. So, hey, buddy, hey, too bad, because all that work was done in vain. You were serving another God. And why am I pointing out pastors in particular? Because there's a different level of accountability for pastors than it is for those in their congregation. A lot of you don't know that. That the Most High was always throughout the Old Testament, I'm going to show you this. He was always more hard on the pastors and priests than the people, because it was upon them to keep the people within the understanding and parameters of the God he claimed to serve. Okay? It was the minister's fault, the pastor's fault that the people were going astray. Okay, so the punishment is usually more stringent, more hard on the leaders. Okay, so you're not going to be able to stand before Christ and say you didn't know. Not only were people on the street telling you it's pagan, even your church authority that established your church told you it was pagan. So let's get this out here real quick, because I really want the responses of the people out there.
Yes, sir.
When you go into this book right here, because you have to keep in mind, when you began a lie, folks, it's hard. You eventually lose control, because you have to tell another lie to cover that lie. And you have to tell another lie to cover that lie. Because the Christian church, the original church, wanted to push paganism, splinters started operating or happening under their noses, because some people were saying, well, we should follow this, and some people no longer follow that, and other churches was following this or that. So the Christian authority came to a resolve. What was that resolve, Elder Lawyer? On page 301.
It says here, in conflict with heresy.
In conflict of heresy, read.
The Christian leaders were led to emphasize more and more the importance of apostolic teachings.
So now, instead of focusing on the holy days that God said we should follow and the days we should celebrate, they were told to focus only on what?
To place or to emphasize more and more the importance of apostolic teaching.
So their emphasis would be apostolic teachings, teaching the missions of repentance. Let's all agree just to do that. Read.
As the basis of doctrine.
As the basis of doctrine. Now, that's not the basis of Christ's doctrine. That's the basis of the pagans' doctrine. So now when they are faced with those questions, they can respond back with, it doesn't matter. Our focus is this. So you'll bring the proof of Christmas being pagan, Sunday worship being pagan, and they're told to respond with, it doesn't matter. Read on.
It says to emphasize more and more the importance of apostolic teaching as the basis of doctrine and the common bind that unified all true Christian churches.
And the common bind that unify all true churches. So they had to come up with an exegesis, an interpretation that they can all agree on that would allow Sunday worship and Christmas to be honored. Okay? And they're not to argue the points of whether or not it's of God. They're told to respond with what they're told in the theologian school. To them, what's more important? Now, they're not really following the apostolic faith, because the apostolic faith was what? It was the upholding of God's Sabbaths and holy days. That's why Polycarp excommunicated all the heresies or the heretics who began to go back into paganism, because they began to vary from what Christ established in the disciples. Come on.
It says, as the authoritative exponents of apostolic teaching, the apostolic writings grew in importance. As a conscience or a consciousness of church unity and a realization of the necessity of uniformity in doctrine and practice grew, the importance of agreement with reference to the body of the apostolic writings that should be held as authoritative came to be profoundly felt. Such writings as had been in suspicion on account of supposed peculiarities of teachings were gradually received into favor, and attention was given to harmonizing seeming discrepancies. Thus we see that the formation of the New Testament canon was the work of centuries. From the human point of view, we may say that the selection of books that should form the canon was a product of Christian consciousness.
Oh, so they meticulously cobbled together certain records and certain precepts and which the Christian church would focus on, right? So the majority of the parishioners, of those who go to the church, would eventually believe that what they were teaching was what? Sound biblical doctrine. But it was what? No, it wasn't. It was actually their ideas through omission. We just won't teach the Sabbath. We just won't teach it's important. If we just teach those that come into our church, these particular tenets, that will become their new reality of what Christianity is all about. Check that out. Read on.
It says, from the human point of view, we may say that the selection of books that should form the canon was a product of Christian consciousness.
Christian consciousness, read.
From the divine point of view, we may say that this process was presided over and directed by the Holy Spirit.
It wasn't directed by the Holy Spirit. That's a lie. Because there's no lie in the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit wouldn't direct those in Christ back into paganism. When Paul was bringing Gentiles out of paganism. Read Acts, the 15th chapter. Now, pastors real quick, right? What does the Bible say concerning pastors who would purposely omit the truth of God? Okay? Having a position to lead their flock into Christ's path. Now, either they will follow the doctrine of man or tradition, or the God and Christ they claim to be inspired by. or to follow. Elder Lawyer, real quick, let me go to Jeremiah 46, 3 and 4 first. And I'm going here because why? We are a product, on speaking of God's people, those that are suffering in our neighborhoods. We are a direct product, folks, of our disobedience. What you see going on with our people dying in innumerable numbers right now, coming down with cancers, children are dying early with cancers and all that. And there's no answers from the priest at all within our communities. Why? You have to realize that the Old Testament gives us insight on what would happen if we begin to scorn the laws contained in the book. So, if the seventh day is the Most High's rest, and we provoke the Most High to anger by ignoring his rest, turning Sabbath into Sunday, guess what? Your children, your generation will have no rest. If you reject the Most High's rest, he'll take your rest away. And this is why there's so much chaos and confusion amongst our people. This is why there's no rest amongst our people. Because we have rejected God's rest. And Christ said he have come to give us peace. That he's coming to bring us into our rest. Paganism is the integral spirit that's stirring the chaos within our communities. So you might think it's a small thing with Sunday worship and Christmas, but in the heavens, it's an entirely different perspective concerning it's about obedience or disobedience. Pastors, instead of arguing back and forth church history like we're bringing out, and going back and forth of why you choose to do this or why you choose to do that, let's resolve it by the eyes of God with his word and just come to these conclusions. Christ said, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. Everything else genders strife and confusion. Is it right or wrong according to God? Yes or no? Are pastors out there in the Christian church responsible for telling us the truth of church history in respect of Christmas? Should they, on their so-called Sunday morning, get up and read what I've just read right now to everyone and give them the right to choose with that understanding now, whether or not those in the church would like to knowingly keep Sunday worship, knowingly keep Christmas, knowingly keep Easter? Should they just tell people right out and say, well, I'm going to be here Sunday anyway, but I'm giving you all the truth of where it's from, and it's up to you whether or not you want to stay here with me in this what we call a church? Read that real quick for me, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah.
Jeremiah 46, 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Read that real quick.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah chapter 46, verse 3. Order ye the buckler and shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses, and get up ye horsemen, and stand forth with your helmets. Furbish the spears, and put on the brigandines.
What verse are you at?
Verse 4.
Okay. It's Jeremiah 23. Let's go to Jeremiah 23.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry about that. Jeremiah 23.
Jeremiah chapter 23, verses 3 and 4. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds. And
it says, I will what?
And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them.
He says, God told the prophets in the Old Testament that he would begin to do what?
I will gather the remnant of my flock.
I will gather the remnant of my flock. That's the residue of those who belong to God.
Out of all countries.
Out of all countries.
Whither I have driven them.
Whither I have driven them. Read.
And will bring them again to their folds.
And I will bring them again to their fold. Right? Now, for you pastors out there, I need you to understand why the Most High stated he's going to do this. Right? There's going to be a remnant in the earth today that the Most High would bring out of all of these different religions and bring them back into his fold through Christ. What you're witnessing with the advent or the speakings you see of Israelites and others that are teaching a ministry outside of paganism is exactly that. I know you would like to relegate it to some rogue groups that are coming up claiming the Israelites and all that. No, it's the Spirit shaking all of these religions, bringing God's people back to its original place. Right? Now, hold that, and I'm going to show you why. What people did he drive away? I need you to hold Jeremiah 23 because I'm coming back there. Read Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Real quick.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse number 64.
Come on.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other.
So the Most High told the children of Israel, due to their disobedience for following the Gentile nations and the lesser gods, he cursed them by saying he would scatter them amongst all nations. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
And there you shall serve other gods. Now, the other gods at this time, folks, were the Babylonian gods. The worship of Semiramis, the worship of Estar, the worship of the virgin child Tammuz, the worship of December 25th, the worship of Sunday, worshiping the sun instead of the Sabbath. We were punished for following the same days that are honored in Western world Christianity today. Read on.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Because our fathers knew nothing about celebrating Brimalia, Saturnalia. Read.
Even wood and stone.
Wood represents the worship of the idolatry that comes from the Roman Catholic Church, which is the cross. That's the wood. And the stone is the Kaaba stone. Islam and modern day Christianity. The two strongholds that religions, the two stronghold religions that predominantly have God's people in spiritual bondage. Now, when we go back to Jeremiah 23, I purposely went to Jeremiah 3 and 4 first. Why? Because when you read Jeremiah 23 and 1, it states what?
Jeremiah chapter 23, verse number 1.
Come on.
Woe be unto the pastors.
It says, woe unto the pastors. Now, this is not Israelites telling you this. This is not the gathering of Christ Church telling you this. This is the God who you believe anointed you through the Holy Spirit to guide his flock. He said, woe to the pastors
that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture.
That destroy and scatter the sheep of his pasture. Read.
Saith the Lord.
Saith God.
Therefore thus saith the Lord God of Israel against the pastors that feed my people.
See that? The God of Israel is against the pastors who feed his people. But what are you feeding them with? Paganism? Doctrines of men? Roman Catholic Daba? Or are you feeding them with the true word of God? And guess what? The Lord says you cannot love him in tongue, but in deed. If you're saying you love him, but yet keep not his commandments, according to the New Testament, it says you are a liar and the truth is not in you. How can you say you love God and you're teaching God, but yet you are highlighting known traditional pagan days that were set up to serve Satan. That's confusing. And the Most High is not the author of confusion. Our God wouldn't set you up to uphold a day that led to the fall of his children, that led to the punishment and curses of the Israelites in the Old Testament. He wouldn't set you up to teach the same thing that led to our fall. So because of this, because we disobeyed, the Most High is plaguing us. He's plaguing our communities. The same plagues that happened in ancient Egypt is upon our people. You just don't even realize it. We're suffering and dying in large numbers. Why? Because the priests will not come back to the Most High and teach our people the truth. They're dying now. I'm going to tell you, our people are suffering the plagues. We're dying. Because the pastors have left their watch. Finish reading.
Ye have scattered my flock, this is the rest of verse 2, and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith the Lord. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them.
See, and this is why our people are walking away from the churches. And because you don't know God, you don't realize it's the hand of God. You would rather believe it's some men out there influencing young people and it's this new doctrine or a hate-filled doctrine. You would rather believe that than believe that it's the judgment of God upon you for your lack of standing as a watchman. Okay? For your lack of denying the position and the responsibility that comes with that position, to teach the word of God as it is written and stand on it. So now the Most High said, Jeremiah, prophesy against the pastors. Because the proof is out there. Even their own Christian Gentile authority told them that what they're worshiping is satanic, is pagan. Read.
And will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. Verse 4, and I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed.
See that?
Nor shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. So
if you understood prophecy, you should know that the last shall be first, and the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. You had to know that at the very end, the Most High would set up pastors right under your nose. Last. That would feed our people with the information, with the food, with the spiritual manna of Christ that would give them rest, resolve, and understanding their national origin, where they came from, their true holy days, the understanding of their book outside of mainstream traditional religion. You should have known it was going to happen. How long you thought the Most High was going to allow you to stand with a doctrine that led to our communities being totally demoralized and destroyed? How long? I know you would like to look at it as if it's some Israelites. Guess what? You are downplaying the power of the Almighty. There's nothing you can do to stop people from leaving these churches, because it was prophesied that the Most High would begin to shake the temples and bring the same people who he scattered out of those religions from the four corners of the earth, and bring shepherds and teachers according to his heart. And his heart is this Bible. I'm going to tell you, you're downplaying the power of the Lord if you think it's just some Israelites and YouTube and online and all that. And it's way deeper than what you could have imagined. Okay? The Most High is judging all the pagan temples right now, because why? It's time for the children of Israel to come back to him. It's that time in prophecy. So he must shake your religion. And the truth, now the truth of what has always been, has come to the forefront. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch,
That's Christ.
and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth.
That's Christ.
In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely.
Come on.
And this is the name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness.
The Lord our righteousness. Read.
Verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought us up, or brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
No longer will it be said that the Lord liveth that brought us up out of the land of Egypt. To show you the parallel, to show you the comparison with our people who have always served Gentile nations and the people who serve ancient Egypt. We're the same people. Okay? Think about it, folks. The government of Egypt planned to depopulate our people, saying in Exodus, the 1st chapter, that they're growing in number. Let's deal with them, lest they grow and join to our enemies. And they began to put in legislation to kill the man-child, the men, the boys. And now look at our system today. Look at it. Abortion. You would think that abortion was created for us because more of our children get aborted than any other people, than any other race. It's the same thing. The vaccines, what they're doing to our children, with Bill Gates and going over, these are plagues killing our people, the children of Israel, with the same mandate of ancient Egypt. The separation of our families when they say only leave the women child, only leave the women child, but kill the man. How they're locking us up in jail and the women are raising all the children now. This was an ancient plan in ancient Egypt. What? Actually being executed in the new Egypt. And the pastor's just sitting back looking at this and not correlating or paralleling both and coming to a resolve that we must be those people. We must be those people. I mean, even priests should be looking at these things. What is killing our people since Christ said he come to heal the people? You need to do the research of what's in the vaccines, what's killing our people, how our society have fallen so. It's upon the priests and the pastors to have this information to protect the flock. Think about it. When you do the research, I've been doing the research. I'm like, there's research out there that the scientists already proved that HIV has nothing to do. There's no such thing as HIV that leads to AIDS. There's scientific proof that it was a lie from the beginning. And now when you see the word HIV or AIDS, it's a black face next to it. Preachers and pastors should have to understand what's going on, that our people are being plagued and being labeled like we were in ancient Egypt. So guess what? Let the community go to hell if you would like, pastor, but don't think you're getting away. Don't think you're getting away. Okay? Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. That this time of year is aimed towards taking the spiritual source of mankind and empowering the fallen gods. That's what this time is all about. Satan's Sabbaths. And I'm bringing it right back. Listen to what he said about the passage. Listen to it.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Come on.
Mine heart within me is broken because of the prophets.
He says, God says his heart is broken because of the prophets, the teachers, those who put themselves in position as leaders. Read.
All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man. and like a man whom wine hath overcome, because of the Lord, and because of the words of his holiness. For the land is full of adulterers, for because of swearing the land mourneth. The pleasant places of the wilderness are dried up.
And it says the land is as adulterous. Who responsible for that? The leaders are supposed to teach better. You're not supposed to teach that everything that's going wrong in your community, that I can't judge this and I can't judge this or judge that because we're under grace. To a degree in which the adulterers and the sinners become the overseers of your churches. If you sit back and say nothing, you will be overran by sinners. And that's the current state of pagan churches today. Read on.
The rest of verse 10.
Jeremiah 23 and 10. Read it.
The pleasant places of the wilderness are dried up, and their course is evil, and their force is not right. For both prophet and priest are profane.
It says the prophets and the priest are profane. Go on.
Yea, in my house have I found their wickedness, saith the Lord.
In my house, in your churches that you call God's house, he has found what?
Their wickedness.
He has found their wickedness. Read.
Verse 11 or verse 12. Wherefore their way shall be unto them as slippery ways in the darkness. They shall be driven on and fall therein, for I will bring evil upon them. Even the year of their visitation, saith the Lord.
Christ is going to visit these pastors. Read.
Verse 13. And I've seen folly in the prophets of Samaria. They have prophesied in Baal and caused my people Israel to err.
They have prophesied in Baal and caused what?
My people Israel to err.
And caused my people to err. And guess what, folks? Whether you believe it or not, I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to tell you right now. The tetragrammaton that's held by the other people who are claiming to be us today, Yahweh is Baal. Yahweh is Baal. The tetragrammaton is Baal when you do the research on it. The newer name for the tetragrammaton in the Latin later on was Jovi. 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 Jovi or Jovi is Zeus. Okay? It's either Zeus or it's synonymous with the son of Zeus, Jupiter. Jovi. Yahweh, Jovi, which is J, is Zeus. I keep on telling y'all. you don't want to hear it. A lot of people want to push back. The Most High gave Moses his name. You want to keep pushing back? Okay. I got nothing but books over there that you wouldn't believe, folks, that goes into the detail of all of what I'm telling you here. The tetragrammaton have always been Satan. When the Edomites renounced the God of Abraham and went into Mount Seir, they found Satan, Baal, and that's why they uphold Yahweh. Now, the Edomites were known under another name under Egyptian history, and that's called the Shashu. The Shashu, which were the Edomites, began to sacrifice, that's right, to the God of the Tetragrammaton. So when they say Yahweh or Jehovah, that's Baal. Okay? Whether you believe it or not, you can try to make an excuse for it or try to go into it. It's on you. I don't have that issue. Okay? I don't have that issue. I'm going to call God who he told Moses to call. The same name he told Moses to use. There's only one place you can go into the Bible in which the Most High gives his name to mankind. Ahiah is his name. And I'm going to tell you again, Ahiah is his name. Come on.
Verse 14. I've seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem an horrible thing.
He's seen in the prophets of Jerusalem, which is our people, a horrible thing.
They commit adultery and walk in lies They strengthen also the hands of evildoers.
Ooh, it says they commit adultery, they walk in lies, and they strengthen the hands of the evildoers. They're strengthening the hand of the Romans who've enslaved us. They're working for the other team, according to the Bible. Come on.
That none doeth return from his wickedness. They are all of them unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah.
They're like Sodom and Gomorrah, allowing wickedness to fester all within their congregations and their community, and find themselves absolved. Don't got nothing to do with me. I got a good church. But it's the foundation. It's the spirit that you've built your church on. It's rotten. It's canker. It's worms. It may look on the surface clean, but it was built on spiritual wickedness. It was built from the base of the Tower of Babel. Okay? It was built on the Tower of Babel. Now, I don't want to deal too much in that. I'm going to stay right there. I'm only a few more verses, and then I'm going to open up the lines here. A few more verses, then I'm going to open up the line. Come on.
Yes, sir, verse 15.
Because I got a few more questions. Come on.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood, and will make them drink the water of gall.
Here's the judgment to the pastors.
For from the prophets of Jerusalem is profaneness gone forth into all the land.
Now, some prophets or pastors out there should fear, should have some level of fear after hearing this and ask, well, what must I do? Hebrews tell you that you must learn again, which be the first principles and oracles of the Most High. All of us was taught the lie. From knee high, from toddlers, we were lied to. You must learn again, which be the first principles and oracles of the Most High. And if you don't know the direction, shut down until you get it. Because it's no sense compounding blood on top of blood. A judgment is coming. It's already here. Okay, the judgment is already here. And how do we know that? And maybe pastors don't care. Maybe it's part of their, financial gain to have a funeral almost every week now. Maybe it's to your benefit to be burying your people in your communities in innumerable numbers. Maybe that's really bolstering your bottom line. But to God, that's a problem. Now, all through Jeremiah 23, it speaks of this. Now, for those who missed this, we actually went into the church history out of the Christian history books, their theologian books, in which they admit themselves that they've injected December 25th and all that themselves outside of the directions of the Bible, that they're pagans. And they admit it right here. They even give you the history on it, the Primalia, what it was called in Rome from December 17th to 24th. They give you the history of that it was January 6th at first, celebrating the baptism. And then they switched it where it was Christ's birth and the baptism being celebrated every January 6th until the 4th century, in which they all united together and made December 25th the worship of the sun day. December 25th, the worship of the birth of the sun. Not the S-O-N. It says it in here, but the S-U-N. Huh? Going back real quick, and then I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to open up the lines. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? Well, if they fall on this video, they know it now. Year after year, we're told by Christian leaders in the Western world that Christmas is a celebration of the Son of God, S-O-N. and that all Christians should honor this day in Jesus' memory. But is there something pastors left out? Is there a connection between our Savior and Christmas Day? Well, this may shock you, like we've mentioned earlier, that in a manual of church history, upheld by theologians and learned pastors throughout the earth, it's explained in full detail how this respected winter celebration became Christ's birth under the new Christian authority. And now it comes down to, is Christmas of God? And if so, which God? Hope you can give us the answer to that by dialing in 515-605-9327. Now, another thing I wanted to say real quick, Elder Lawyer. A couple of weeks ago, and Elder Gaja can chime in with this. A couple of weeks ago, we showed a graph, right? Out of all the people on earth, how, I mean, the people who celebrate Christianity within America, that there's 7% Caucasian, 1% Asian, and 71% are blacks. And I think it's like between about 17% Latinos, or what you would call Spanish people, who are what you would call fervent churchgoers. Okay? Those that are still in the church. Now, when you look at those numbers, it's resounding and it pops out altogether, because what is it saying? That means to some degree, when you look at those numbers in that graph, that the other nations know what it is. They have found the truth, a lot of that, because those numbers in America used to be much greater for the Gentile nations. But now they're just going straight into the ancient Babylonian religions. They done went from Christianity, now they're going straight to Eastern Babylonian worships, like becoming Buddhist. Or they're going straight into East Indian religions, the ancient religions. It's as if they say, listen, if I'm going to celebrate this, I'm going to celebrate its original content. I'm going to celebrate its original in its original form. I'm not going to no longer celebrate the copy of it. I'm going right back into what it used to be, ancient Eastern religions. And you notice more yoga classes are popping up. Every place you go, all the other nations, when you go into their house or their business, there's a Buddha there, or there's a statue there of a Buddha. Because it's like, listen, why? Now that Israelites started coming out telling what Christianity really is, they're like, listen, why should I continue to follow the knockoff? Why should I continue to follow the copy of the religion when I can just go to these Eastern temples and go to the East Indian temples and follow the original? So the other races, the move from Christianity, realizing its origin, and are going back to the original Babylonian religions, while our people are still stuck. 71% of us in the churches believing that it's the truth. Go ahead. And it's deep in itself. That it's our people that are still predominantly stuck in it. Gaja?
True. I mean, we did a program last week. I think it was on Did You Know, when we brought out the history that, you know, Christmas or Saturnalia was banned up until the year 1890.
Yes.
It was banned.
It was banned.
You could go jail for celebrating it. And why? Because it was riotous. You know, if you see that movie, The Purge, it's pretty much The Purge. Anything went, anything goes for that period. That whole week celebration of Saturnalia.
Yeah.
You understand? So the people, the church, ironically, were the ones that banned it. Like, yo, listen, we can't do this.
At one time, exactly. At one time, Christmas was banned. During the same time before they freed the slaves, It was prohibited to a lot of degrees. It wasn't until they began to free us that they created this Christmas and all that and say, listen, and we looking to get included into paganism, saying, well, okay, I want to do what the plantation master is doing.
Exactly.
I want to follow what they're following. And this is how our people have failed to such practices and ceremonies. But go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, I mean, you just check the history. The history is there, you know, and even more prevalent now. I mean, the New York riots in the 1700s, where they first introduced a police force, was all because of this satanic festival. You with me? It is satanic to the core, like murder, orgies, riots. This is a really murderous time of the year.
Yeah.
You understand? And you see it even now. Crime goes up. You understand? I was watching something on TV earlier. It tells you about how the hospitals are getting more crowded. You know, this time of the year. Yo, this is a wicked time of the year. And when we brought out the statistics, right? And like we've been saying, is that the black people, the Israelites, are the ones right now upholding paganism.
Yes.
And we are the pagans' biggest cash cow.
Biggest consumers. It's us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's us. Right throughout. And it's not just it's not just in Babylon. I mean, it's all over the earth. You understand? It's everywhere. Like we grew up in Jamaica. We have a custom down there on the Christmas Eve that we call Grand Market, where everybody comes out in the streets and you know it's a party. It's a revelry. You with me? So we're waking up and we need to come out of these practices. And I mean, it's deep tonight. This information coming out, Elder, where in the pastor's manual, the pastor's handbook, quote unquote,
Yes.
it's telling you the origin of what they're dealing with.
In their handbook.
Yep.
In their handbook. The history, a manual of church history. This is a Christian manual for all pastors.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling you. It's saying, listen, we're pagan straight out. This is what we're doing. If anybody asks, if anyone asks, just let them know that we're just teaching the apostolic gospel and we are to focus on that, not the other stuff we set up as paganism. You are automatically, you are told to deflect if it's mentioned. If it's mentioned, you're not to deal with it. You are to deflect and say, well, that doesn't matter. Let's focus here. And it tell you in the manual that you are to deflect. You are to not even go into it and tell people that, we don't focus on that.
It's
Is it crazy? Oh my goodness.
It's comical, man. It's comical. When you look at what this is, it's comical to the core. And the thing about it, Elder, the sad part of this is that a lot of our people are still embedded in it.
Yeah.
Are still trapped in it.
Yeah.
You with me?
But go ahead.
Not understanding that, listen, this is leading you into the pits of hell. You understand?
Yeah.
Where are the apologists?
Oh yeah, the apologists like say they go into church history, right? Maybe they'll pull this out for Christmas and let everyone know that the Roman Catholic Church in its inception said that all the days they're worshiping are pagan. Yep. And Gaja, I'm gonna go in the second part. I'm about to open up the line, but this is the next thing I have here. Right? Here's a good question, right? The most resounding question now. Based on everything we brought out today, the fact that the truth of Christianity and what it is now being exposed as ancient Babylonian rituals under Satan, because that's what it was, and that's what it still is. Is this the reason why, check this out. Is this why clergy within our communities are losing the respect of our youth? Are clergy losing the respect of this generation, what they call Generation X? Have we turned them off, or has our children turned them off? Have they turned them off? Because now they know the truth. I'm speaking of the youth now. Mm-hmm. And now, being rebels, are rejecting clergy and disrespecting clergy for not coming out and standing against the lies.
Well, check this out, right?
Now that's a deep question within itself. But go on.
Check this out. I believe that disrespect or that refusal of clergy started maybe even from my generation or even before, because you know, I remember as early as the age of 11, I was like, yo, what the hell is this? You with me? 11. I remember that. I remember being 11 and looking at Christianity and like, yo, man, something is wrong here. You with me? Something is deeply wrong. And then it pushed me away from the Bible altogether, because I thought that, yo, this is just mind control right now. You with me? Because if you believe this and doing this, then this is not real. And it gave me a resentment for the Bible, thinking that what they were bringing came from the Bible.
Hold up, Gaji, because this is deep in itself. Because when I met you, you was almost an atheist. You didn't believe in the Bible at all. What you're telling me is you formed that opinion by, it was the Christians that drove you away from the Bible?
Yes, it was. I mean, okay, you met my family. My family deep rooted in the church. Deep rooted.
Yeah.
You understand? We went to church every Sunday. No, I was going into church, Elder, and I was seeing sisters in church catching the Holy Ghost, and I knew they were faking it. I knew it was a fake. You understand? And it never sit right with me. Even like I said, as early as age 11. 11, I was like, yo, man, this is garbage. And I came out of it. And then what was like growing up in Jamaica, the only alternative that you'd have outside of Christianity is really Rastafarism. So I went from one pagan madness to another madness. You understand? And then that that was even crazier. And I'm like, no, man, forget this whole God thing, man. There's no God. You understand? Until them days in Peace FM when reason and logic started to come. So I would say the youth going away from the church, from the clergy, started even from my time and probably even before that. You with me? Because anybody with a logical thinking mind, right, or can just looking at things from a common sense perspective.
Okay.
Christianity don't make sense. It does not.
But it's deep that you drop in that, because the reason why it doesn't make sense is because it wasn't established to actually follow the Old and New Testament. It wasn't set up to bring people to the God of the Bible.
Exactly.
Okay. Anytime you have to make an excuse of why you're not following something in the book, that alone should tell you that should raise some level of alarms or red flag. But real quick, because we're about to pivot over, Elder Gaji, and I need you to stay because there's other things I want to talk about, and I'm about to open up the lines for all of you in here. But before I transition, I wanted to put this out real quick, right? Is this why clergy within our communities are losing the respect of our youth? If this is why people are just leaving the churches altogether, they would want to blame Israelites and all that, and try to get the apologetic. Let me tell you, these apologetics and all that, they're getting bodied right now. And I'm going to tell you why, because the only thing they're trying to do really is to frustrate the floodgate of people that are just leaving out of these conclaves, these churches. You're not going to keep the people as long as you continue to teach paganism and our children come to find out that you're right out lying to them in the name of your so-called God. That's number one. Number two, and I'm just going to lightly touch on this because I have a lot of email and all that, but I'm going to deal with that this coming Sabbath more so, or the next broadcast, because everyone is asking what's going on with the Trump impeachment and this, that, and the other. I'm going to deal with that later. Don't think that I don't have that on the table. It's on the table. I'm going to talk about that, right? But real quick, I really want to just touch on just a little of how now, out of that event last week, an executive order that was already drafted up before the event, that now Donald Trump has signed into order Jewish people now becoming a nationality under a protected class through the Civil Rights Bill our people died for. We were hung, burned, flogged, killed, you name it, in order for the Civil Rights Bill to be passed. And now the Civil Rights Bill protects them as a nationality. There's no longer any protection for us. But that ain't the part I wanted to focus on. The part I wanted to focus on is I didn't hear anyone talking about Israelite and nationality until our people began to come to the knowledge of the truth of us being Israelites, number one. And number two, it's telling in itself. Why do the government have to make them a nationality if they're the people of the book? I thought they were the nationality. Huh? That went right over y'all, didn't it? I thought those people, according to what they were telling us, that they were the people according to nationality. Why do they need some type of government authoritative co-signing to become a nationality of people if they're the people? I'm just going to leave that out there because that's for the next broadcast we're going into. How can someone sign an order to make a people a race when God created all races? If you are the national people according to bloodline, you don't need the government to come in and stamp of approval on your nationality if you're the people.
If I can mention one thing on that, I mean, it's deep in itself because for years, I would say for centuries, quote unquote Jewish people, that discussion has been a debate among them for centuries. What is Judaism, or what does it mean to be Jewish?
Exactly.
Is it a religion or is it a nationality?
Exactly.
So they don't even agree or understand exactly what it is.
Exactly.
So for him to now come and put a stamp on that, you know what? I'm going to leave it for that broadcast.
We're going to leave it for that broadcast.
We're not even going to
but it's deep that nationality is the point of the point of discussion right now. When we began to go into trying to figure out who we were, being a lost sheep of the house of Israel, all of a sudden, all these so-called DNA commercials started coming out, learnyourancestry.com and all that, because they thought that would ease our concerns or fill that void of not having a nationality according to God. But we started going into that ancestry.com and became even more confused. The only thing that makes sense is that we are the people according to the Bible because no other people on earth fits the curses. No one else fits the people of the Bible but us. The same people that was once enslaved and are now uniting under a spirit, under God, and praying to God for deliverance. It sounds like the children of Israel that lived, who were oppressed in Egypt to me. No one else fit the description, folks. That's how deep this is. And this is why now Israelites are becoming the enemy of the state now.
Right.
But I'm going to leave that to next week. And it's going to be called Enemy of the State, Israelites. Executive order signed will be next week's program. But anyway, because I'm digressing, we only got a few moments before this broadcast ends. Do Christian pastors know the truth about Christmas? And if so, why aren't they telling those in their congregation? Why aren't they teaching this church history? If I'm able to get this church history, surely a pastor has it. Year after year, we're told by Christian leaders in the Western world that Christmas is a celebration of the Son of God. But in their books, they're telling you it's not the S-O-N for December the 25th they're worshiping. It's the birth of the S-U-N, the Son. Also, all in the book, it goes into the history of the Sunday worship. In the book, it tells you that it's not the Sabbath and that they're upholding and worshiping the Son, S-U-N, in a Christian church history. It's breaking down Christmas, Easter, you name it. Everything that all the pagan paganism they are excusing off in modern day Western world is in the book. And Christ says, many shall come in my name saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. They will use my name to deceive the world. All right? So now, let me put this on, and we're coming back with part 2. We're going to open up the lines, 515-605-9327. And I just want to focus at the end of this. You can have any point you would like. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? And if so, why aren't they teaching it? And last but not least, this is why, based on some of the information I pulled out now that is readily available, at the fingertips of any young person or any teenager or young person that has a phone, is this the reason why the youth is now rejecting the Christian churches? Because they found out that they write out lying and that they won't admit they're lying. This is why the youth no longer attend church. I don't know. Maybe it's so, maybe it's not. You give the answer, some of you young people that are out there listening. 515-605-9327. We'll be right back. We'll be right back with the phones. We're opening up the line, and we thank you for all your support. And don't forget to hit that like button. Be right back. See God, you there. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra-biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that he used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you the Hebrew Bible Academy. You're invited. That's right, brothers and sisters. You are invited. Hebrew Bible Academy this Sunday. You don't want to miss it, folks. I'll tell you right now, we're going into the creation of the universe, the celestial realm, how all things came to be, and you're going to find that the earth is in the midst of heaven itself. We're going to go into the angelic forces, how they were made in the beginning. The Most High God, Ahia, we're going to break down and give the understanding, because there's some questions out there on whether Christ always existed or was he created by the Most High. That will be answered. The origin of the Holy Spirit, the spiritual realm, the orders of the angels, and the fall of the angels into this realm during the time man was created. We're going into that in the creation of the universe. You're going to look at creation. You'll never see this Bible the same with this particular lesson, and you'll never see earth the same. Okay. Hebrew Bible Academy. Elder, you ready for this Sunday?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, the creation of the universe. And we also going to be going into, you got it, the 12 tribes of Israel with the split between Israel and Judah. This coming academy. So you don't want to miss out. Please don't come in the last moment, because right now the administration is working around the clock. Make it easy on them so they're not working into 5, 6 in the morning, Sunday morning. enroll now if you can, or before Friday, so that our administration don't be up. Because people call us 5 minutes before the broadcast kicks in and say, I want to get in. No, folks, please help us out. And if you're going to be in the academy, enroll early. Go to historytimes.org or gatheringofchrist.org. And when you go to gatheringofchrist.org, make sure you peek in on our GOCC network and see some of our new network participants, those with their different gifts and talents. I bought some deodorant from a sister that make the deodorant. And guess what? That deodorant is made from all mint and different stuff like that. One little thing like this, and I'm still using it since the Passover. I mean, it's just to put a little under your arms, and it's in a jar that preserves it. You can find all that on the GOCC network, and it's some good, wholesome stuff with no aluminum. Aluminum causes breast cancer. All that. It cuts off your glands under your arms. It makes it where the sweat don't come out because it's clogging your pores. Well, if it's not coming out this way, then guess what? It's going inside of you. And a lot of these deodorants have aluminum and all that. So go to the GOCC network. There's a lot of healthy products that can help you out. And of course, these are brothers and sisters who believe, who understand, and care for those who are actually getting their products. But getting back to the Hebrew and Bible Academy, go to historytimes.org, gatheringofchrist.org, and make sure, if all fails, send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com. Now, I'm going to go over real quick. I'm going to go over the phone numbers I'll bring in. This way you're prepared and not caught off guard. 404 area code first, 440 second, and 336 area code. Okay, then 419 area code. So get ready. Make sure I'm not playing in the background. I mean, we had a blessed time this weekend in Texas, man. I thank you. We did Music with a Purpose, a show there with the church. Man, what a blessing. I like to thank Azan, his wife, and all the family in Dallas who've embraced us, man. It was a wonderful time. And there was a comedian there talking about a brother who's funny. I mean, this brother, what he's Judah Carr. I call him. He had a shirt called Judah Carr. Hilarious brother. And he was joking about how people are nervous calling in, knowing that, you know, sometime I'll come in the spirit of the Sandman and yank you early if the phone isn't correct. But I was almost on the floor. But anyway, I'm going to try to be patient with my brothers and sisters. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to be patient with you, but please make sure there's no feedback. 515-605-9327. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? And if so, why aren't they sharing the truth with members of their congregation? 404 area code.
Shalom, elders. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Hello.
Shalom. How are you?
Shalom.
I'm fine. I'm great. Can you hear me, or do I have feedback? I'm a little nervous.
Oh, you don't have to be nervous because we got a new system in, so you will have no feedback. Y'all don't got to ask me a question. Just shoot. Let's go.
Okay. Well, if I may go into the second question first about the youth, I feel as though a lot of it has to do with Jeremiah 23 and also 1 Peter 2:9 as well. I think it's 2:9 or 3:9 where it says, "Ye are a chosen generation of peculiar people, have been called out of the darkness into his marvelous light." And then we also have a large generation of our people who never even introduced their kids, to God. No matter the confusion or the delusion, like I grew up in the Baptist denomination, but the Most High found me there. So you have a lot of our youth, they've never prayed, they've never went to church, or anything, That's my opinion on that question. And as far as the first question, I grew up in a neighborhood, I'm from Atlanta, and if I very briefly, at about a 3-mile stretch radius each way, north, east, south, and west. In the neighborhood that I grew up in, it was over 50 churches. Okay, I'm 37, so I'm
Okay.
not sure how many there are now, but it was like one on every other corner. And I went to 90% of them, but I landed at one, and that pastor, very close to the family, and me and my kids were under him. I've been
Okay.
under him for about 20 years, and so last year I've been in the truth for about 3 years now, and so last year he called me. Tis the season to be folly about that time, and he asked could the kids come and he said that he missed us and come into fellowship, and could they come and help decorate, the church for Christmas. And so, I told him that, no pun intended, but the Most High had pulled me out because what was happening was I was going to the altar every Sunday crying,
Okay.
like just lost. And so he pulled me out of there, and I told him, don't take it personal, but, our Heavenly Father pulled me away because he seen how distressed I was and so broken. And I've been at home studying, for myself to show thyself approved. And, I told them in short that I found out that the Bible was more than the religion that the word has placed on it. It's a history book. And we are the main characters. We're amongst the prophets in there. And, I was telling him some of the revelations. And he was like, I know. That's why I don't have any, European pictures of Christ. And I even spake about Jeremiah 10:4 and everything that I said. He was saying he knows, and he was like, the church is empty, no one is calling. And in my mind, I thought of Jeremiah 23, but trying to humble myself, I didn't speak. And I said, well, maybe you should go out into the highways and the byways, as Christ commanded us, because I know how I felt once the truth was revealed to me. Maybe if our brothers and sisters knew that we are those people, maybe they will begin to walk differently, and so that's my experience. But my old pastor, he definitely knew everything that I was bringing out. Why he's not bringing it to the people, I have no idea. And the church doors are now currently closed in less than a year.
And the church doors, so you belong to a church family. When you originally was going there, I'm sure a lot of people were there, right? But now it's dried up to almost nothing.
I've been seeing, well, it was more than it was, but it seems like that Jeremiah 23 has been, I'm 37.
Okay.
And it's like I've been living that my whole life, like, seeing the numbers lesser and lesser and lesser, and the pastors are like, I don't understand. They're taking it all personal. And I'm like, are we reading out of the same Bible here? Because it was spoke that out of the hands of the Most High, he will drive his people, out of there. So,
But thank you,
but they
sister.
take it personal instead of going back. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I got you. She's saying they take it personal instead of reflecting on it for what it really is, which is a judgment of the Most High, and taking His grace for granted. He gave you grace by entrusting you with His flock. And I'm going to tell you this, folks, and that's why it's upon pastors and everyone to read this book. Because if pastor was reading this book, you would realize you are responsible for your congregation. And you would have thought twice and not gotten co-opted during the prosperity movement. You wonder where your congregation went. You got co-opted by the mega churches. You think the Zionists and the Messianic Zionists and all that are really controlling the Christian right didn't see all the money that churches was prospering within our communities? They found a way to co-opt it. You have to realize, folks, Creflo Dollar, T.D. Jakes, they're just front men, folks. And they don't care that right now those pastors are taking all the shots. They put those guys up, they're front men. They're ceremonial to make us believe these are our Christian leaders. No. These are Zionist pastors that were put in place because they have that presence. They're great orators. And these are Kenneth Copeland babies. These are Billy Graham babies. Okay? You put a black face in front of you to co-opt your church. And when our pastors didn't see that as an existential threat. We thought that an anointing was on these men. But they were put in place to do what? Rob the churches and leave it bare so that the pastors who really could care in the community for their churches wouldn't have a congregation to shepherd. I'm gonna tell you right now. And now they want to point to the Israelites to why there's nobody going to church anymore. And guess what? The Most High just have us at the very end, and those that know we're the truth and know the Bible and dealing with Christ's ministry, we're just the hammer to finish it. It's Christ's gospel that's just going to just finish it. Okay? But you've been co-opted a long time ago by the mega churches. Okay? They have you pointing, you look at those Israelites, while we in the back counting the cheddar.
Right.
Next one, 440 area code.
Shalom, elders. You guys hear me?
Shalom, Elder Ricard Shiar. You're live.
Oh my goodness gracious. Thanks so much for taking my call. I'm just listening and I'm laughing because number one, they're not teaching the truth because it's therefore and no more, you know, and I'm telling you the Most High God's honest truth. Right here, example, right here where I live, you know, I heard, you know, about GOCC, but I was going to church because you guys are not around me. And I'm telling you, one day I had my family, I think it's 3 daughters there and my 1 son, and I stepped down to the bathroom. I came back upstairs. These deacons had my son held hostage at the door and said he could not go back into the church, you know, because my daughters were there and they kept going back and forth to the bathroom. And the pastor, he was just blasting them out, you know, saying, you know, mean things about them. And my son stood up for them. And, you know, they wouldn't let him. I said, well, what's going on? Well, he's doing this. So, you know, these churches are just stuck on therefore, no more. And I just really appreciate you guys because, I mean, GOCC, you guys are so raw. I mean, you guys bring the truth, you know, and these pastors, they don't have a leg to stand on when they come, you know, on the show and ask you guys questions, you know. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, it's hysterical. And there's been so much going on in my life that I have just, through you guys, just began to laugh at the demons, you know, because it's like you guys have no win. You know, I will fast, I will pray. I've done Jericho marches, and you know they just have no win. You know, and one other thing, and I'm going to go off the phone because I know you got other callers. That raw milk, you know, with you guys, kind of cleared my brain off, and I can laugh because when I used to call in the beginning, oh, I was crying because that stupid demon was tagging me left, right, and everywhere. I was still fighting, but I was just wore out, you know. But I started drinking that raw milk, and it just cleared my brain out, and I can laugh at the demons now. So I'm looking forward to gathering with you guys when the Most High's will. And Shalom, thanks for taking my call, but you guys are so raw. I would love to know as much knowledge as you guys have, but I'm you know, just picking up bits and pieces. And I'm just laughing at the devil now. You know, I'm just preparing to go home.
Well, thank you,
Shalom,
sister. And
taking my call.
it's just to make sure you join that Hebrew Bible Academy starting this Sunday now, all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all
Shalom.
right. Shalom. Okay, 336 area code. And after that, 419. Do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? And if so, why aren't they telling the members of their church? Talk to me.
Shalom, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, you're on. You're live.
All right, so Shalom, elders. Thank you for taking my call.
Shalom.
To the first question, I've in the age of the internet, where you have all of this information that's out now, that's relatively available to the people, to where now you can look up stuff through your phone. I think it's almost impossible or very difficult for a pastor not to know. Because when you look into even the prosperity pastors, you have people like like Fred Price Jr., who's a mega church pastor, go over the real history of Halloween. You have people like Joel Osteen, who admitted openly to his congregation that eating pork was a sin according to the Bible. You have all of these people who openly admit what the Bible says, proving that they know. And if they can know, I'm sure pastors under them and pastors who follow them have to know as well. The reason why they won't teach it, however, is because, and I'm speaking from experience as a young person myself, a lot of these congregations that they're following, but most of the people in the congregations know it too, but because they're in love with these things, they've grown traditions to these things. They've grown attachments to them. So much history behind them. It's to the point where now it's just like, see no evil, do no evil. Let's just all pretend like the Bible doesn't say this, and maybe eventually it'll go away.
Yeah.
And now it's to the point, to the second question, that now the younger people who don't have these traditions, who don't have these ties to these pagan origins, they're looking at this like, we are all sitting in this congregation and we're literally playing pretend. So I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't know that this is wrong. It's wrong. So I'm either going to backslide from the Most High completely, or I'm going to get the truth elsewhere. But me staying here, it's just not worth my time. That's my comment on that.
That's profound. How old are you, brother?
I am 23. Sorry, 23.
See how well-spoken this young man is?
Yes, sir.
Man, it's a gift by the Most High that you can read that word and understand it for yourself and discern good from evil, brother. Bless you, brother.
All praises.
Okay. And there's a scripture that highlights the perspective of members who know what they're dealing with is pagan, but yet continue to follow their pastor under it. Let's read in Isaiah 30 and 10, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. I started verse 8. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 8. Now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book.
Note it in a book. We're reading the book.
That it may be for a time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
So the reason why a lot of the pastors are staying under the pagan lie and are teaching it, because they know that they'll probably lose the people if they continue, if they told them the truth. So a lot of these pastors are really in a bond. Okay. Number one, they look at the church history and understand it's in their record. I just read it in the church history manual that even the theologians know it's pagan. It's satanic. But yet the pastors are between a rock and a hard place. Okay. They know what the manual says as far as how Christmas came to be and all that. But then they know also how much the members of their church revere or respect these days and the traditions which are attached to it. So they're following man upward over them, the authority of the Christian church, and they're following man under them by pacifying their members in fear of losing them. The Bible tells you, but eventually you as a pastor must stand on the word of God and let the chips fall where they may. And it may leave you alone. I remember a time in which I was all alone. Okay? I remember a time in which there was all the people that I was in the 90s, I used to teach and all that, and all the people would come up and all that. I remember a time in which I had to start over and I was all alone. I remember that. And I'm like, Lord, if I ever receive that opportunity again, I'm going to build this work on top of on Christ's foundation. If I ever get an opportunity to teach, I'll do it according to the word if I have an opportunity. All right, but keep it on. Keep on.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. Which say to the seers, see not.
So here it is. You have the members will say to the seers, see not. We don't want you to give us the reality of what this world is and the fact that we're living in the end days. Don't see. Don't prophesy what you read. So the pastors know that the members of his church don't want it. A lot of them. Read.
Prophesy, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things.
Don't tell us the right thing. Don't tell us about that law of God, that law of Moses, the same law Christ followed. Don't teach us that, what's right. We want to eat what we want. We want to sin and be absolved. We don't want judgment. We don't want to be shown what's right. Mm-hmm. But do what?
Speak unto us smooth things.
Give me something I can receive. Give me something smooth. I need you to slick your hair back and slide to the left. Slide to the right. See? I need some moonwalk for me, Pastor. Come on.
Prophesy deceits.
Prophesy deceits.
Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us.
And then the people are saying, cause the Holy One, the God of Israel, to cease before us. Give us the lesser gods. Give us the sun god. Give us, tell us why it's okay to celebrate and worship the sun, the S-U-N, on Sunday. Because I like the Christmas tradition. I like the trees. I like the hymns. So please don't have a dark cloud. Please don't become the Israelite Grinch that stole Christmas. Next, 419 area code. You're live.
Hello?
You're live. 419
Hello?
to 917, and I want to bring Mike in 1 second after this call. 419, talk to me.
Shalom, brother. Shalom, elder. Now, look, I'm going to say this. When you ask, do the pastors nowadays that's preaching know about the truth? I'm going to say some might and some might not. Because, every pastor that's behind the pulpit nowadays hasn't always been to the biblical Bible college. You understand what I'm saying, Pastor?
Yes.
Elder?
Yes.
Like every pastor that's behind the pulpit has not been to the biblical Bible college. Now look, I'm gonna say this: T.D. Jakes. I've been to his church a few times. He teaches. And I hope don't nobody feel no type of way about what I'm about to say, but I believe he know the truth because that's an African American brother in America, and he know that Bible. I'm pretty sure he know that Bible back and forth. And look, I read the first 4 chapters. The first 4 books of the Bible. I already knew about it, but I was like, you know what? I know. I remember my mother Latanya Smith was just on the call earlier, and this is Dominic Rainey, her son. Now look. I'm 29 years old, right? And I just did. I hope I'm not venturing off too far, but let me.
Please keep it in because we got a lot of people waiting. We have a lot of people waiting, so hit it.
All right, let me say this real quick. This about the 4 books of the Old Testament that I read. I did 11 months. I did 11 months in the county jail and in prison. I'm gonna tell you like this: they took my Bible from me when I went to prison. They took my Bible from me. Now look, I hate to venture on, but look, now if you think about this, if they serve as mental health medication that's killing folks and giving people Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and stuff like that, why do you think they won't fool some people about a religious faith that teach you about a Santa Claus that come down your chimney just for a couple of dollars to get in their pocket? You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Everything nowadays revolves around money.
It's
Everything
true.
nowadays.
That's true.
Like you say, TD Jakes, Billy Graham, all them big wig pastors. I'm gonna say this.
Okay, it's the last point, brother, because I got to bring somebody else on. Okay.
All right. If they know the truth, and they not revealing the truth to the people, oh, God gonna deal with them. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. All right, brother. I'm gonna put you on hold. Great points.
God gonna deal with them.
Bless you, brother. Hey, that's what the
All
Bible
right.
say, my man. All right.
Yeah.
Bless you, brother. Let me pull in Micah Allah real quick because he has a testimony, because he so happened to be a musician who's hired, as far as his occupation, to play for some of these pastors sometimes. Let's see here. Let me bring him in. Micah Allah. Micah Allah, tell me if you can hear me loud and clear, if you're with me. Hold on. One moment. You there? Come on, Mike. I'm going to the next call. Okay. All right, I'm going to the next call. One moment.
Uh-oh.
You there, Mike?
Khan, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. I have. Don't put your picture up. I'm fine. I got you. Okay.
Okay.
We have Micah Allah on the line. Mike Allah, you said you needed you wanted to give a testimony. I'm getting feedback, brother. You know how I work with that feedback. If I'm hearing,
you can still hear?
If I hear myself, I'll get your testimony next week, my brother. You know I care about you, but all right. You know what I mean? Like the brother said on stage, it makes for bad radio. Now, Mike, you said you have a testimony with a pastor. Give it to us. The people are listening. The question is, do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? And if they do know that it's pagan and has nothing to do with Christ, God, or the Bible, why do they continue it? But go ahead, give me your testimony. Go on.
Okay, Khan. I just want to say shalom, first of all, to the elders and stuff and everybody that's listening.
Shalom.
Yeah, at this point, I'm completely convinced that all of these pastors know, just on a minute theological level, they all know that the holidays are pagan. And the reason why is because, and I'll just give you the whole rundown. There's a church that I play for on Sunday and stuff like that in Houston. And the pastor was doing a sermon one Sunday, and this is kind of funny. He was doing a sermon one Sunday about false religions, right? And mind you, he didn't know that I know the information that I know as far as us being the chosen people and this, that, and the other. So he's doing a sermon, and in the sermon, he starts talking about the false religions. And one of the false religions he mentioned.
Hey, Mike, your phone is killing me.
I'm in my seat, and I just start, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, it's no coincidence that he's going into this. So after the service, we go to the back. You know, I talk to him, and I tell him, you know, I heard you mention something about Black Hebrew Israelites or whatnot. So I was like, so can you tell me a little bit about that? So then he starts kind of giving me a spiel on some radical guys that he had met that was telling him all type of, you know how those guys are, telling him all type of crazy stuff. The white man is the devil, they going to hell, and whatnot. So yeah, so I basically told him, like, you know what? Those guys might be off, but I really do think that you should look into some of the things that they might have been speaking of. Everything they're saying is not completely false. They just coming from a spectrum of hate. So I definitely think that you should look into it. So then the next Sunday, tells me he looked into it, and based on what he looked into, he started to ask me. He pretty much started to kind of interrogate me based on the fact that I told him, I had never talked holiday, but I told him, we keep the Sabbath. I don't eat certain things. So he started interrogating me about, the name and, Jesus and whatnot. And so I'm trying to speed it up too.
Yeah.
So in the midst of that conversation, he started asking me, certain things that I believe. And I started telling him, we don't deal with the holidays and whatnot. We know that the holidays have pagan origin and things like that. And I asked him if he knew that. And then he said he did know that. Right. So after he said it, I started asking him, let me get back to it. I started asking him, I say, so you know that the holidays are pagan? So then he tells me that they know that the early Christians turned it into something positive. So that's what he said, and that's why they still deal with it.
Oh, okay.
So, I took him to a scripture. I said, well, hold on, Pastor,
I got you, though.
That woe unto them that call evil.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me take this big pile of horse manure and turn this unclean big pile of horse manure into something righteous. Okay, I think Mike is gone. All right, hold on. Let me call him here for, oh my God. Come on, young man, you're hurting me. Hello?
Hey, so I don't know what just happened.
Okay, what happened is you dropped off, but just finish your statement. Go on.
Okay, so basically, I think the last thing I left off was when the pastor actually started saying that the early Christians turned the pagan holiday into something positive. And then I took him to the scripture, Isaiah 5 and 20. And I basically tell him that it says that woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. You know what I'm saying? You can't take something that had an evil origin and try to say that it's now for the Most High.
Exactly.
I say that it's now for God. So, and then I asked him a question. I was like, so why don't you tell some of the members? And then he didn't really respond. And then I said, don't you think you should give the members a choice to know, whether if this is something that they really want to deal with, understanding that, there's a pagan origin to it?
Oh, that's deep in itself. So you actually posed the same question we're posing tonight to him. Like, if you know it's pagan, why not share that? And what is his answer to it?
Right. He actually didn't have an answer. He's kind of trying to divert it into something else. And so he didn't fully answer that question.
So he did. Hold up, Mike. So he did exactly what the church manual tells them to do. If you're asked about it, start talking about something else.
Right. Exactly what he did.
So they did. Hold up. So they did read the church manual.
There was two other deacons in there, and when I posed that question, they all just got kind of quiet and they just started kind of looking at each other. I'm like, okay. Like, I think you should give the people a choice. You should tell them what this is so they can make a decision if they want to keep putting this tree and stuff up. You know what I'm saying? He got the tree and the foyer and all of this and the stuff. And I'm looking at him like, Pastor, you know that this is pagan. Like, and I'm telling him, like, we don't need these pagan holidays. We have holy days in the Bible. We really don't have to follow these. And he was like, well, yeah, Brother Baptiste, but,
So I'm sure he told you not to share what you just told him to anyone else.
Oh, I was just gonna tell you.
Go ahead.
So what had been happening was, and I respect that, say you in another person's church, you don't want to just start going around, because to him, based on what he believes, I look like a heretic. So I'm not, finna go around and whatnot, but he was definitely telling me, well, listen, don't talk to nobody, and we don't want you inviting people out to your church. So that's basically what he pretty much told me. But I did tell him, I say, Pastor, now, if somebody come to me and ask me something, I'm not going to sit here and lie. If they ask me why I'm wearing these 4 tassels and they ask me why I'm not following these holidays, I'm going to tell them. So he respects that, because I'm not going to hold my tongue about it, but he doesn't want me to initiate conversation about it. He would rather people just kind of, figure it out or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I know what he would rather, but keep in mind right now he's probably on his cell phone looking for someone else that can play the piano. But it's all right, brother. Bless you. And I'll talk to you.
I'm kind of bringing in some numbers. I don't know.
I know, brother. I mean, you can play that, but it's deep how the Most High have those in the truth as wise as serpent, harmless as dove, in strategic places to make an influence.
Exactly.
See, in this, but what I'm glad that you are an example of someone who's using your grace to actually get to our people within the churches and all that.
Exactly.
So now you are a respected person amongst that congregation. And now, because you didn't just denounce them as pagans and say you the devil and you all that, the Most High put you in a strategic place to help that pastor in due time. So I thank the Most High for it. And I'm glad that you have the wisdom to walk with knowledge amongst that pastor, because who knows? Eventually, the Most High might prick his heart and he'll come to you at night like Nicodemus did with Christ to learn privately. And one day that church all together can one day be a part of the gathering of Christ church. Listen, I've seen, hey, listen, Mike, I've seen it happen before. I've seen that happen, but you're doing a great job. I have to go because we only got 12 minutes left. All right. So I'll call you later. Shalom. Great work. Shalom. All right. All right.
Wonderful testimony.
Wonderful testimony. That's deep. 917 area code, 917. Oh, yeah. And right now it's been reported out there real time while we're on here that Donald Trump has been impeached. Now, some people might think that being impeached means he's no longer the president.
Right.
It doesn't mean that.
Exactly.
Impeachment only means that he's going to go through the process. And if found guilty of whatever they're trying to claim he's dealing with, then they will oust him from the seat. But keep in mind what type of man we're dealing with here. Okay? We're dealing with a man who would do anything at all costs to consolidate and keep power. So what you have to look at in this, because of course all these departments are compartmentalized. One thing you can't do is change a president midstream at a time of war. So I'm going to just keep that out there for you for a moment. It's time for us to come back to the Most High and prepare, because it's about to go down. Because Donald Trump has never been one that took a fight sitting down. Okay? You try to hit him, he hit back twice as hard. That's what he's always been known for. You can't become a big business tycoon in New York and make your way to where he is without knowing what to do in times like this. And I'll tell you this, and the reason why the Democrats are looking to impeach him, because they know there's no way they can beat him in an election, because black people are not voting for Democrats anymore. It's not happening. And if you don't have the black vote, it's over. We see what comes of voting Democratic, okay? Voting Democrat. Our neighborhoods is a perfect product of Democrats who had decades to prove they were for our people. So they know in a regular election, Donald Trump would win. So that's why they say, listen, the only way we can get him out is in impeachment, because we're not participating no more. This crap is a farce. It's over. Babylon is falling. 515-605-9327. Let's go down to 917 area code. Shalom.
Shalom, elders. How you doing?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia. Oh, yeah.
I hear that. Well, to answer your question, definitely these pastors know, because I came from a church, a Christian church, when I was younger, and my bishop always used to say when we were younger that, you know, you shouldn't be putting up Christmas trees, and Christmas has nothing to do with the birth of Jesus Christ. And when my mom used to go there before I even was born, he used to make the church fast on the holidays. So he definitely knew what it was about. But then eventually, you know, times go on, people come in, and you want to hold on to that crowd. So you start relaxing a little bit. You start relaxing your standards. You start thinking about, okay, well, you know what? I want to hold on to the people. And the church was really, 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 really big. And it was like considered like one of the mega churches in New York City before you really had the mega churches.
Okay.
I remember when T.D. Jakes was a young pastor that was a no-name pastor at that time. And, you know, he would always come to our church at that point in time. But
Scoping it out.
But the pastors, they know. And
Go ahead.
right. And then to answer the second part of your question in regards to the youth, I went to a Sunday church last Sunday because my brother was playing at a new church and whatnot. And I said, you know what? I'll go to support you. So he said, you know what? Since you're going to come to support me, then I'll come to your church and to hear about your church. So I'm like, praise the Most High.
Praise the Most
You got
High.
to be all things to all people.
That's
so
right. That's
thank
right.
you for the lesson that you did a couple of Wednesdays ago. But to fast forward, when I went to the church on Sunday, I noticed that the church was filled with old people and then older people. And then when I look back to the church that I just left not too long ago, like a few years now, I noticed that most of the people in that church were older people. So then I said, wait a minute. Churches nowadays, if you were to do an analysis or do like a study,
Oh, poll, yeah.
the most people that go to church now are probably between 50 and up. Young people are not going to church. And the reason why they're not going to church is because, number one, we have this thing where we can have church in our homes. We can have church on YouTube. We can have church on TV. And we don't need to go to church to have to function or fellowship. They're not serving fried chicken dinners anymore and baked macaroni and cheese and collard greens and all that. They're not serving that no more. So why should we go? So given the fact that they're not doing that and there's nothing to entice somebody to come, then why come? And then on top of that, the truth is not here. And this is what really makes me so happy, because when I look at the truth that we're in, and when I go to the different GOCC bodies and whatnot, even though I'm from New York, but I do travel at times.
Good.
I see that we have a lot of young people, and it makes me smile. And older people, they don't want to stray away from what they're not used to.
Yeah.
So when I see like an older person in the truth, I'm like, wow, man, like that is so dope, because I know it takes a lot for you to change your mind when you were indoctrinated with Christian theology or whatever all these years of your life, and then you're changing. So this is the reason why. And then also too, my old church, they just recently evicted the bishop's widow out of her house that she was in with him for 22 years. And the church actually stood up and took a vote that if anything was to happen to him, she would get the church. But he passed about a year ago now. And the church has been wanting to kick her out so that they can get the property. And I always say, I'm like, wow, you know what? This is what it is. They want the money. And they evicted her 2 weeks before their so-called Christmas. So then when people like us who look at it like that, they're like, wait a minute, what God are you serving that will allow you to kick somebody out? And your bishop's widow now, to kick her out 2 weeks before Christmas. And I said, I know in the GOCC New York City body, we take up collections if somebody needs it, because, you know, just if they need help paying rent or whatever the case may be. So how do you fix yourself to even do something
Why
like that?
would you even, sister, I'm going to place you on hold. Good point, but great points. Thank you, sister. I'm going to place you on hold. How do you dishonor the bishop, the shepherd of your church, by no sooner as he's in the grave, you counsel together to take the church and the property his widow is living in, right from under him, for the love of filthy lucre. Man, it's coming out, right out, what God they're serving, folks. But we're digressing. 832, we're almost done. 832, area code, do Christian pastors know the truth of Christmas? And if so, why aren't they telling the members of their church? 832, area code. Shalom. Okay, I think it dropped. Did that one drop? All right.
It says 832 dropped.
Okay, it dropped. I'm sorry about that. 941 area code. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. 941, then 254. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom, elders. How are you guys doing?
Blessed by the Most High God, the God of Israel.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to say that I really agree with what you guys were saying as far as like the leaders go, because even when you read the scriptures, every time that our people fell, it was because like the people were persuading the leaders and the leaders caved in or they gave into it. Like even when Moses came back from dealing with the Most High and asked Aaron, like, what are you doing? Why would you create these calves and these golden statues? He said, oh, the people made me do it. He didn't, instead of standing with the Most High, Christ never submitted himself to the will of the people. Even when the Pharisees came to him and were like, oh, you want to sit with us? He's like, no, like I'm going to do what my Father asked me to do. I don't care about pleasing others or being men pleasers. And that's what a lot of these pastors have submitted themselves to doing instead of standing on what they know. Because, like you said before, they will be dealt with, unfortunately.
And I'm gonna go on. Go ahead.
With the young people, a lot of us have access to social media, and so much news and so much information comes out on these things. You talk to the average person, a lot of these young people have heard about Israelites and they've seen the memes about Christ being a black man, and then they read it for themselves. And it's like, what are my parents doing? They just feel like they've been lied to. And when do the lies stop? You figure out Christ is black, then Christmas is pagan, then all these other holidays aren't supposed to be celebrated. And it's just like, what do we turn to? And so many of our people are lost. They want to connect it. And instead of picking up the Bible and reading it, they put it down.
Well, thank you,
and
sister.
That's the only thing that has the answer.
Well, thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. Great point. I'm going to place you on hold. And this is what I like to say. Right now, amongst our leaders who had an opportunity when this truth began to come out, like in the 80s and 90s, amongst our pastors now is a rendition. If you notice,
90 seconds.
If you notice, there was a rendition earlier because in our communities, under the Democratic Party, almost every major city had a black mayor at one point. In the 80s, going into the 90s, Philadelphia had Wilson Good. You had Marion Barry, I think. They went and got someone that was on crack and made him a mayor or something. You had John Street, play-to-play of Philadelphia. You had black pastors all over the place, right? Remember that?
60 seconds.
And now, if you look at those authoritative positions, they're predominantly held by the people who are now protected under a nationality. All those strategic cities are now ran by those particular people, right? If you look at Time Joyner now, the morning show and all that, he's moved out of the way. They moved him out of the way. Even Farrakhan, in the final call, Farrakhan in his final call got this big celebratory honor as a top Shriner or Mason amongst all the black Masons in the United States. And now he's being retired as a top Mason. I'm going to bring that out.
10 seconds.
They're moving all the black people who once had influence out of the way. And the same time they were doing this, they were co-opting the Christian churches with the mega churches now so that the black pastors wouldn't have an influence over the people before the engagement. And that's where we are right now. Where now All of us everywhere are void of leaders. We're bare with no protection. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. There's no gates to protect us anymore. No leaders to protect us anymore. All the men are locked up or killed. The women are running all the households now, and there's no men. Guess what? The children of Israel is wide open for the war, for the engagement. It has never been so prime for engagement than it is today, where there's no religious leaders to help us. There's no political leaders to help us. There's no men in the house to help the women. Hey, it's prime. We have never been as weak as we are right now in this nation as a people. This is the weakest we've ever been. And if there was a time to strike our people, it would be now. It's time for us to come back together and understand the time we're in. Okay? We're beyond the point of General Vespasian and Titus. They have actually entrenched around America with a wall and with border control from the East Coast to the West Coast. And now the Israelites everywhere within the inner cities are primed for the kill. The international military has already they've already stationed all throughout the country. And you think this impeachment thing and all that doesn't have anything to do with all of this? Guess what, folks? Martial law is on the horizon. It's time for the children of Israel to repent and come under the hedge of the God of Israel. It's about to pop off. 47s, I only got a few more, and then we got to wish you all Godspeed. We're at the end of the broadcast. 407 area code. Shalom. If you don't have protection, you better find it. The Bible tell you, in that day, a man, speaking of a righteous man, shall be like pure gold. Anyone out there claiming you don't need a man? Hey, you better be a man somewhere. Talk to me.
Shalom, elders. Good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm blessed by the Most High. We're in the time of Jacob's trouble, but you know what? We shall be saved out of it. And you know, and another thing, there's no fear. The God of Israel, the Bible told us this day would come. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Just want to say real quick, it was nice meeting you guys at the CD release in New Jersey. I met Elder Lawyer and yourself.
Praise the Most High.
It was a pleasure meeting you guys for the first time. I had such an awesome time.
Praise the Most High.
Can't wait till you guys get to Houston. I'm waiting for Houston.
We're coming to Houston soon.
I just wanted to, yes, sir. Just wanted to say real quick 2 things under a minute. I'm going to do it fast. One was coming out of the church 3 years ago. You told me to be patient. Church is coming to Orlando, so I thank you so much. The GOCC body in Orlando is awesome. Deacon Nathan Ben is doing an awesome job. I
praise the
appreciate
Most High.
Him so much and his family. It was worth the wait. As far as the church is concerned, I think it's now a point where it's tradition over truth. So they're more focused on the traditions and the love of the tradition. That they're not interested in the truth anymore. That's gone out the window, and it's all about the money as well. Because a lot of pastors rely on that money to maintain their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when that money is gone, their lifestyle is gone. So they're going to never come out with the truth, because once they come out with the truth and people leave the church, then there's no money. And I was in the middle of writing a song. I had one of our musicians come over to my house. We were writing a song, and he's one of the top musicians in the Orlando area. And he plays for a mega church. He's been there 10 years. He just got laid off or fired or whatever you call it. And I asked him what happened, and he said they said they were having 3 services. They're down to 1, and they couldn't afford them anymore. So, that's what's happening in the church right now. The musicians, they can't even afford to pay the musicians in the church. So I actually invited him to our church. He came to a Feast of Dedication. And I told him, come and just see what we're doing. And he came and he was like, oh, you guys have more people than we have in our church. I said, yeah, you came here. You thought you came to play, but you're going to stay. I said, because this is where it is. This is the truth. So, he was listening to Deacon and getting some, word and key points and stuff like that. So I just pray and ask the Most High to open up their eyes to see the truth and, bring in these people from the church, because it's hard when you're trying to tell them and your family, but if they get there, then they'll hear the word.
Well,
so thank
sister,
you, sirs and elders. Go ahead.
Well, sister, thank you. You've been patient. You've been a pillar there, holding it down. And I said it was happening, and it's coming, and it's there. I can't wait to see you in Florida soon, sister. And I'd like to thank you and your husband. I can't wait to see you all when I get there. Okay.
It was worth the wait, Elder. My husband helps with praise and worship. He came a long way. He's helping with the praise and worship.
Praise the Most High.
And we're, excited about that.
Praise.
Yes, sir.
Well,
and
thank
if you can take my number, give me a call on a separate note about the label. Remember you said there when I was there that if anybody wants to be a part of your label or all that, maybe you guys can help me with some stuff that I'm writing. I just wrote a song called Rise Israel, first song I've ever written.
Okay.
In, this truth. So I'm excited about it. So I would love your advice on that, sir.
Let me ask, because someone sent me some honey from Florida. Was that you?
No, sir. I wish it was me, but if you could give me who sent you the honey.
Okay, because I'm going to put this out there.
Sir.
Someone's, pass me that real quick at the lawyer over there. Someone from Florida sent me some honey from their own honeycombs. I'm going to place you on hold, sister, okay? Bless you.
Sure, thank you.
Someone sent me some palmetto honey from their own honeycombs that they raise, that they actually raise bees themselves. Man, this is some of the best stuff I've ever tasted. I mean, sister or brother, whoever sent this, I'm gonna go through my mail and try to find your mail so I can reach you. I need more of this, okay? The medicinal properties are ridiculous. I mean, now I'm taking this along with some ginger that I bought, some lemon, so I can build up my immune system. I'm going to start hitting those weights like I need to. Hey, it's time to get ready. We can't be sitting down and like Jezreel waxing fat, folks. Those other nations, everyone out there, they're out there jogging. They're in the gym. They're getting prepared for something. I need some of this. And, hey, it's time to get it in. I need some honey. I need to get my immune system up. Me being sick through all that, because outside of Babylon, I never got sick. I'm like, you know what? I used to make sure I eat organic. I always make me a fresh salad every day. Babylon gets you so busy that you get out of your health routine. So I'm in it to win it. I need some more of that honey, if you hear me. All right. I'm only going to take 2 more calls, and I'm going to leave it with the elders and wish you all Godspeed. This honey is outstanding. 340 area code.
Hello? Hi, elders?
Hey, how are you?
Hi, fine. How are you, elders?
I'm blessed by the Most High, sister.
Oh, praise the Most High. Well, elders, on the topic, I actually had a comment on the topic for next time with the Jewish designation, but I guess I can hold that.
Oh yeah, hold that. We're going into that next week.
Oh, okay. But I wanted to say that on the pastors, and I see it's a grand delusion, and it's the pastors, most people, not just the pastors, but it's just a grand delusion that I'm seeing here. It's like watching unfold. You're talking to pastors. I try to give information, like when that lady called in and said she shares the word, she shares your information with people, and I thought it was a great idea. So I went ahead. I'm sharing information with pastors, giving information, visiting a prior church, the Seventh-day Adventist church.
Good.
Give the information to a pastor.
Good.
And it's like once you give the information, sometimes you're shunned. Like you're almost like you're shunned.
I can imagine.
By some people, or
Christ was
received
shunned.
by others, and it's like, yeah, and they know it. It's like, for instance, in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, like it's like split in two. Half follow the pagan days, half don't. You know, it's kind of like hit and miss. It's like, is it the doctrine of the Nicolaitans? I don't know, because it's hit and miss, and it's not all together. Some people are saying no, some people are saying yes, and I just don't know regarding that. But what I see is that most pastors, like the gentleman called in earlier, he said that they have to know, and it's like they do know, but I don't know if they care past mammon, you know, or they prefer mammon, or they have constraints where they don't want to let go of it. And even just the other day, an example, not just them. But
Hey, sister, you got to make it quick because we got other people. Time is ticking.
Sorry. Okay. And I'll just stop right there and just say that I noticed this seeing, being able to see, being able to hear, and not being able to see, not being able to hear, and just listening to what Christ said about blessed are your eyes that you see and your ears that you hear, and noticing the strong delusion that people want to hold on to believe a lie. And that's all I was going to say, elders.
Sister, thank you. Your voice always bring joy, and I appreciate you. And hold your point. Make sure you write it down because I want to hear what you have to say on the next program. If we're not in war by then, I'm gonna put you on hold. Because who knows? He probably got both hands, feet, and 10 toes down on the red button right now. 501. Only taking one more, and then I'm gonna hand it over to the elders. 501 area code.
501. Only taking one more, and then I'm gonna hand it over to the elders. 501 area code.
Okay, 704 area code. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Shalom.
Shalom. You're the last call for this evening. Oh, no, I got one more call after you. 770 after you, and then that concludes the calls for today. 704, then 770.
Yes,
Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Shalom, elders.
Shalom. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Blessed are the best. You know his name is the highest.
All right.
But yes, sir. First, just thank the Most High for this opportunity to be on, and I pray the Most High continue to smile down upon you guys.
Praise the Most High.
To answer the question, sir, I think as a whole, I truly believe at this point right now that most pastors don't know the truth, and this is why I say that. I was once a Christian pastor myself.
Okay.
Back in 2013, I came across your video, 12 Tribes Lost.
Okay.
And that began my journey to the Most High.
Praise the Most High.
And all praise. And I have been serving the Most High to the best of my abilities for about 10 years prior to that. Had been preaching for 6 years. And at that point, I knew, there was a separation of what I was teaching and what denomination I was part of at the time, which was the Baptist denomination. The Most High began to start showing me things about, what I believed and what I was teaching prior to the truth. He was preparing me for the truth. But the awakening, the way the Holy Spirit just completely overtook me after seeing that video, I didn't have prior to that. So I give all glory to the Most High.
Praise the Most High.
For the last 6 years, we've been working and doing the work, and now for the last 3 years, my ministry has went forth in bringing this truth to our people.
Praise the Most High. Man, you don't know, brother. You don't know how happy that makes me. How happy that makes me. A pastor who said that, listen,
yes, sir,
the Holy Spirit fell upon me. That video fell upon me, and listen, I mean, I would like to interview you one day and let's talk about what has been the pros and cons of you actually standing with the truth. Because I'm saying because
Yes, sir.
and you are a perfect example, sir. I don't want to cut you off because I need your testimony, but you are the perfect example
Yes, sir.
of what this truth embodies, what Christ embodies. Because others on the outside of it, when they hear about Israelites or hear about those that teaching Israelites, they would try to make it as if this single hate philosophy, and they like to keep it on color so that the majority can gloss over the key information that was actually within Christ's ministry itself. But go on, brother.
And yes, sir. And I'm glad you said that, Elder, because that's what I was going into.
Go ahead.
When I watched the video and all of the videos that led to my awakening with GLCCC, it was because of the way you guys presented the message is the reason why I was able to receive it. And we, through my ministries, we do a Tuesday night Q&A session through social media.
Okay.
And for the last year or so, largely the people who are asking the questions are Christian pastors. And
praise the
through the
Most
Spirit of the Most High, because of the fact that I didn't burn the bridges of the relationships that I had set prior to leaving the church. You know, the Most High, I had to study for 5 years before I could ever preach the truth. The Most High would never let me go forth in the truth. I was still preaching, still traveling, doing events, but Most High would not let me tell the people that we was Israel until 2016. He said, you must first learn this thing first and then release it.
This is profound.
So fast forward, because I know you got other people in the call. What I mean by saying that most of our people don't know is because the initial experiences with a lot of Christian pastors and Christians per se, as a whole, from Israelites, is you're dumb, you're teaching ungodliness, you're wicked, blah 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 blah. They're not saying coming from the fact that the person being ignorant. We must understand that there's a difference between a person being ignorant to the truth and someone rejecting the truth. And a lot of our brothers and sisters who are in the Christian church are just ignorant to the truth. I was one of them. I was ignorant to the truth.
Okay.
And we must give our Christian brothers and sisters an opportunity to receive the truth.
Yes.
And whether they receive it, that's between them and the Most High. It's not our responsibility. Right. So bringing it back into the question.
Well, I'll tell you this, Pastor.
I know for a fact.
Now go ahead.
No, okay. I know for a fact that the majority of our brothers and sisters in the Christian church do not know. I ain't from a rural area, so you don't have these pastors that's in this area that's on social media. You don't have a lot of them even attending theological schools and seminaries. They go down from generation to generation, being voted in, and whatever the pastor before them teaches, that's what they teach going forth.
Okay.
They don't go outside of that.
So it's more so they're more so insulated and haven't been exposed to it. So we have to also give respect to that, to understand that these brothers and sisters haven't received the information or the understanding yet, and be careful of how we approach them. And that's why the Most High, have this ministry. And I'll tell you, that's why the Most High have enlightened or have woke you up, brother, because you understand exactly where they come from and how exactly to relay this gospel to them. And I'll tell you, the same way Paul, you have to realize Paul, even though he was only dealing with the law, he was a separate faction than the disciples. He was against the disciples. And it wasn't until Christ came to him on the road to Damascus and slowed him up and have him understand that he was actually doing more harm than good, that he began to learn the truth of this ministry and showing that Christ was written of in the Old Testament. And because of his prior relations, he was able to convert others of the Pharisees to come into the knowledge and understand the truth of Christ. So it worked both ways. It works both ways. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate your testimony. Profound. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take your number down here, and I'm going to call you up. Hold on, and we're gonna
Yes, sir.
we're gonna see how we can move this forward because it's about to jump off. Let me get your name.
Yes, sir.
It's everything we were talking about for years is about to happen. And hey, I'm ready for the last leg of this.
sir.
Christ is coming, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Give me your name.
Yes, sir.
Give me your name again.
It's Levander. It's Lev.
Go ahead.
ANDER. Same thing like Evander, Holy Spirit.
I got you. Evander?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a call.
Evander. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna
Yes,
call
sir.
you, Pastor. All right. Bless you.
Yes, sir. May the Most High continue to smile down upon you.
Praise the Most High. It's deep in itself because we began this particular program with God. You're talking about how he rejected it altogether because he didn't believe what Christians were saying, and he became atheist.
Right.
And the Most High allowed this knowledge to get to him on the other side of the world in England, and now he's a pastor in the church. And we have a pastor who was once teaching paganism. You see how it goes full circle?
Yes,
now he's coming in with the full knowledge and is able to go back and pull our brothers and sisters out of that darkness that came through paganism. I mean, folks, and he also said, I thank the Most High, it was more so the approach he seen with this gospel that allowed him to give the word a chance. That's profound too. How you carry the word of God and how you actually use this word. You understand it? How you actually teach, and people know when you're not teaching in the spirit of the Most High. It doesn't matter how much truth you think you're bringing forth. There's a certain spirit through the Holy Spirit that one must teach with to edify. And they have to know that it's not through pride. People know when the word is coming with care, like the Holy Spirit would bring it. But all praises be to the Most High. Last call for the night, 770 area code.
Good evening, elders.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia. Talk to us.
I have a similar testimony with the brother from Texas with the pastor.
Okay.
But okay. But
Tell us.
I remember when I first received this truth, we decided, okay, no more Christmas, Sunday worship, but I kind of had a dilemma because the church that I came from, I was very close to the pastor and, his wife and the family. She was very close to me. Well, very close to me, a friend, sister, a client, all of that. But I remember one day, she was in my showroom and I was preparing her for, an event. And it was around the Christmas time, actually. So she already knew I wasn't coming because, we maintain our relationship, but she knows I'm no longer at the church, which was very painful. But, it was around Christmas time, and I was telling her why I was not, attending and why I don't celebrate Christmas. And she was like, well, explain to me. Tell me why you don't want to celebrate Christmas.
Okay.
And she knew how to get to me. I'm going to try to make this quick. I know it's late. She knew how to get to me because, like I said, she was my mentor. And she said, tell me why you don't celebrate. I said, well, the Bible says not to celebrate. She said, the Bible? She said, that's so you know it's in the Bible? I said, yes. So I took her to Jeremiah. She said, well, you got to understand, then she took me to the history. So I was shocked. I was shocked and annoyed because if anybody knows me, when I'm bringing in information to you, if you're telling me, well, I already know, I get kind of perturbed. Like, if you know, why didn't you tell me? She took me to the history of, the paganism of it and how they do it in Spain, how evil it is. So I said, so you know? She was like, well, yeah. But she said, you got to understand the blood of Jesus. We plead the blood of Jesus upon it, and we, the rest. And I was like, and I'm not going to call out any names, but I was like shocked, like, so you knew. And she was like, do you understand what I'm saying? She said, Christ covers everything. I said, but, I keep going, and I was stuck in Jeremiah 10. And she said, I know what it says. So I said, so you know what it says, so you're going against it. Then, the conversation was kind of going left because, like I said, she was my mentor, a friend, and a client. So bringing this information to her, even telling her, like about who I am and all that, even who she is as Judah, I was kind of thinking, like, how am I going to bring this to her? Okay, she's my number one client. This is going to cost me, but I didn't care. But the fact that she told me she knew, I'm saying this to say, to answer your question, I can't speak for all pastors, and, her husband knew as well because I took it to him. But they know, especially the ones who follow me on Facebook. If they don't know, they do know now because they follow me on Facebook. But she knew this was somebody that I was very close to, and even the pastor, he knew he was Judah, but they weren't teaching it. So I just wanted to answer your question about do pastors know. The one that I knew who taught me.
Well, sister, this is deep in itself. It's profound that this is the last phone call that you're going into this, because this is from another end of the spectrum. Another pastor, well, she's a woman, so that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But another pastor who know the truth about it, but will only talk about it if someone shares it, and feel there's no responsibility to tell those that she's teaching. And on top of that, she's following the handbook. That if any of this stuff is if it's mentioned, you ought to divert and talk about something else. You ought to talk about the apostolic mission or the blood of Jesus. It's like, I used to wonder why, hold up, sister. I used to wonder why every time we talk to a pastor about things written in the Bible, they would go somewhere else. But really, in the manual, it tells that's their teachings. That if somebody do bring the Bible to you, you ought to talk about the apostolic walk or the blood of Jesus. It's so they are going from a blueprint,
right,
to divert from the fact that they're actually in a position deceiving the people they were entrusted by God to shepherd. Now that's more scary than that brother who just said the pastors just don't know. The example you're giving right now, sister, is actually more scary than the pastors, because at least the pastors are not held accountable for what they don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. But go on.
Right.
This is crazy.
But, Elder, this is one part I forgot to mention. As you were bringing this up, I remember. This is the point I wanted to make. When I told her, when she said, well, explain to me why, and then she told me she knows. And I kind of cut her off, and I said, well, I almost said her name. I said, we have to tell everyone. You know what she said to me?
What'd she say?
This is the exact what she said to me. I would rather you not. I promise you. I said, you would, and I remember, like I said, if anybody knows me, this is the kind of stuff that gets me excited in a negative way. I said, you would rather me not? She said, yes, I would rather you not. She said, because some people don't understand. I said, just read it out of the Bible. I said, it says it right here.
Jezebel from hell.
I would rather you not tell. Yeah, and she wasn't a pastor of the church, but she said, I would rather you not. And I remember from that conversation, we maintained our relationship because, like I said, we were very close.
Lord, have mercy.
She brought me from a long way as far as the Bible and all. But when she said that, that's when I was really comfortable. Like the fact that I was not part of the church anymore, I was really comfortable by then. I said, okay. So we're walking through this on two separate walks. And from then on, we really don't talk about, what we do or, what I do in my church, what she does. If she needs help with anything, I still help her. If I need help, we help each other. But we just separated out. But when she said, I would rather you not, that's when I knew. I said, okay, this is crazy. But, my sisters are listening. If I never shared that,
it's okay.
I was just...
All right.
I
well,
just
sister,
remembered, like, wow, I had the same experience.
Well, sister, man, this was profound. We're at the top of the hour, but I'm glad you're with us. All right.
Same here. Thank you for everything.
All right, blessing, and we'll talk soon. May the Most High be with you. All right. Elders, y'all can have the last word. We have Elder Lawyer and we have Elder Gaja. You have the last word.
Yes, sir. I would just say to those who are watching, and I'm glad we took the perspective we took tonight, just putting the information out there. For those who may fall upon this who are pastors, this is not an attack. This is not a disrespectful discourse as to, what we believe you are or what we personally feel about you and your ministry. We understand that there's a lot of things that go into actually having to shepherd people. And sometimes it's not always wise just to look at something and hear something and then just go back to your congregation immediately and try to share that information.
Yeah.
As the brother said, without
With wisdom.
fully having the understanding.
Yeah.
So we understand that. But it has to come a time in which we have to realistically go back and examine. If the Bible is telling us that there's God's many and Lord's many, we have to ask ourselves, which of those Lords are we following? Are we following the one true Lord? And if not, is it possible that we're following the practices and the ideologies that came with the same gods, as you mentioned earlier, that were a result or responsible for the children of Israel going into captivity?
Mm-hmm.
So these are some things that we have to examine, we have to look at, and listen, as long as we have breath in our lungs, there's an opportunity to repent, to research, and move forward in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave with that, and bless you.
Thank you, Elder Lawyer. And that was poignant, straight to the point. And I would like to say a mistake is only a mistake if you continue in it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's number one. Number two is no one is blaming you. We were all lied to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to keep in mind for a long period of time, this was the only option we had, and we held on.
Mm-hmm.
We held on to Christ and the Holy Spirit and all we knew to be truth, but knowledge has increased. Okay, the seals, like I've mentioned for the last couple of weeks, has been broken. And now you're making a full conscious choice, knowing good from evil.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing both. Make the right choice.
That's right.
Go ahead, Elder Gaja. You with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praises to the Most High again for another brilliant broadcast. Very informative show, as always. You with me,
Praise the Most
Elder? And, Israel, time to wake up. We see it on the horizon coming in. Failure to prepare, we're preparing to fail. You with me? So let's get with it and come back to the Most High, man. Elder, I have a request from you, Elder, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Can we close off with Jacob's Rising?
Okay. Jacob crying?
Jacob crying, yeah, that one.
Okay.
If you can close off with that, and
Oh, come on, Jacob. Come on, Jacob. Let's come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
hold on.
Just that, man, and everyone
Hold
just
on.
stay safe and where you are, and
Okay. Let's do it. I'm gonna do it while we here. Come on, ready? Let's do
Yes,
it.
sir.
All right.
I hear Jacob crying. Why here I can hear him crying. When you gonna rise, call on the Lord. Mighty Jacob rise, let's hear your roar.
Come on.
When you gonna rise, Jacob?
When you gonna rise, Jacob?
He can hear you calling.
He can hear you cry.
He can hear you cry, Jacob.
Oh.
He can hear you mourn.
I feel Jacob.
Rising, can you see? I can see him rising. Jacob, dry your eyes.
Call on the Lord.
And call on the Lord. Oh, mighty Jacob, rise to be restored.
You'll be restored. Troubles are brewing. We need to stop what we're doing.
You need to stop what you're doing. Oh, Jacob.
The promises are waiting.
The promise is waiting. Oh, Jacob. We need to follow the Lord.
Call on the higher. Call on him.
Your voice. I can hear him crying, Lord. Jacob, dry your eyes and call on the Lord. Mighty Jacob, rise, and you will be restored. Oh,
come on. We need to stop what we're doing.
Just stop what you're doing. Stop it, Jacob. Oh, because the promise is waiting.
Promise is waiting.
So follow the Lord, and He will hear your voice. Oh, Jacob, let us hear it. Oh no, let's hear that roar. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Jacob, come and call on the Lord.
It's time for Jacob to call on the Most High. Shalom, have a good night, and brothers and sisters, it's time for us to get it together. We'll soon see Zion. Bless you.
Shalom.
Shalom.
The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out here anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you the Hebrew Bible Academy. You're invited.